All right, we're ready. I'm just trying to get these things pulled up here. I'm gonna be live for a few hours. All right. You guys like the stream, man. I know I usually don't go live this time, so I don't know. I don't know if I should expect a bunch of viewers or not, but we'll get into it, man. Let's hop in. So this David case, bro. We obviously figured it would be like this, but this David case is just wild. I don't know why people are surprised he had CP on his phone when he was with this girl and having these, types of relations with her. And I don't know why people are surprised. I mean, he probably filmed it while they were doing it. I mean, they probably, it was, at some point it's probably consensual when they were filming it and doing it. But at the end of the day, bro, like, hey, man, it is what it is. But yeah, so it is what it is, man. We're going to get into it. Much love to everybody. God bless. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button with notification bell. Double tap that screen. Join the family. Other than that, yeah, man, we're about to rock. So I hope everybody's having a fantabulous day. I usually don't go live at this time, but we're here, man. We're here. And we're back like a heart attack on crack. So hit it from the back. Bang. Anyways, so yeah, we're going to go over, I like watching Bruce Rivers go over some of these cases. I feel like he gives a good insight. And not only that, but, I like hearing other people's opinions. Like when we were listening to I don't know if he was an ex-coroner or what he was, but he was an expert in the situation. And him talking about how they can tell how long she's been dead by like fly patterns and stuff like that, generations of flies, tracking it through the flies and stuff like that. Like cool science you can learn. How they can, determine if it's a stab wound or not, and they can rejuvenate flesh to see or whatever. It's nasty stuff. But anyways, I don't know why people are so surprised he has this on his phone. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like this is what he was doing. He was with her. They're having these relations. He was recording it. Now the question is there more than Celeste on his phone, right? So, but let's listen to this guy react, and we will go ahead and get into some of the long crime and whatnot breakdowns.
Number 26 CJC F02399.
Good morning or good afternoon, Your Honor. Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter on behalf of our client David Burke, who's in custody.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So Blair Burke, her father is part of the American Board of Criminal Lawyers, which was a good friend of my former law partner. And I've actually spoken to her on occasion. So Blair Burke has also represented Britney Spears and a number of high-profile celebrities. Whether she actually tries this case or not remains to be seen.
Mr. Burke.
Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman for the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. And counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations, enhancements, and priors?
Yes, Your Honor.
And requesting a preliminary hearing within the period?
Yes, Your Honor. From the media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary.
Preliminary hearings are never done in secret. That's a statement designed for the cameras.
Hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
You generally don't do this at a preliminary hearing or not at an arraignment. This is an arraignment. That's where you plead, basically not guilty, or have the charges read to you, and then they usually enter a not guilty plea.
Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for April 23rd as a 3 of 10, Your Honor.
Anything from the people?
We'll be very happy to put on the evidence.
We'll be very happy. Oh, look at that little cat fight going on there. I shouldn't say
That's
that.
exactly what I was thinking when I was watching the first proceeding. Was it's gonna be interesting, but it sucks they're not allowing cameras in the courtroom. But it is dealing with a minor, and there's gonna be explicit photos and stuff. So obviously they probably wouldn't, because usually when the cameras are in the courtroom, stuff gets leaked, or stuff gets put out that is different than what they show regularly. And sometimes it's really damning or brutal graphic images.
It's very sexist for me to say, but that's who I am. I'm sexist. I want catfight. We'll be very happy to show that your piece of shit client murdered this woman.
That we collected in this case in the last time.
Allegedly.
Thank you. So the matter will be set.
You see, she does this number. That's like, I got you, girl. Fuck it. This whole thing between these two lawyers right now, that's for the cameras. That is 100% for the cameras. So he's got top-notch legal representation, but they're starting out in a hole. I don't care how fucking great your lawyer is. I don't care how beautiful your lawyer is. I don't care how expensive your lawyer is. Lawyers can't change the facts of a case. They just can't. So how are you going to get those body parts back together and make them not dismembered? Not going to happen. How do you get those body parts out of a fucking bag and, it's not going to happen. How do you get those body parts that are in a bag out of a fucking trunk? It ain't going to happen. And how do you get those body parts that were in a bag in a trunk that are in his fucking Tesla? How are you going to change that? No lawyer is going to change that. But what they can do is try to create, reasonable doubt. And that's all they have to do. But I'm your board certified criminal defense lawyer here at your pleasure, not Robert's pleasure, your pleasure. Today we're reacting to David. David got indicted. Indicted. He got arrested, indicted. You know who David is. We'll talk a little bit more about who he is, and what he's accused of, and how heinous this crap is. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by AskALawyer.com. AskALawyer.com is a very friendly and inexpensive way for you to get legal advice. You can go online and go to ChatGPT or, and not really know if what you're getting is accurate. You go to AskALawyer.com, you got accurate information from a living, breathing, licensed lawyer. Why is that important? Because when you get into court, if you give a brief or something and it's fake, they give you fake cases, well, you're going to get thrown right out of court. So go to AskALawyer.com, and they do have an AI.
Anyone that's new to the stream, welcome in, man. God bless you guys. We're going to go over the David case before we get into the Trump-Iran situation. Make sure you guys say what's up in the chat, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Much love.
Component that's trained on
this play, but I gotta go let my dogs in quick.
50. He locks you in the base.
Queens, New York. I'm in.
.com. Okay, David, he's a pop guy. He started out internet and he did Fortnite, the video game streaming and all this other stuff.
I'm from Queens, New York. I'm in Houston now. I am a gamer. I love video games. I want to be a professional gamer before music. That's actually what pushed me into music. And
he also did this song called Romantic Homicide. Now, when we first started our channel, our very first reaction was Murder on My Mind by Wayne W. Melly, who's still in jail, by the way. We're going to have to do a reaction to him soon because I think his trial's coming up because he's been tried, I think, once or twice for that homicide. He's had a couple hung juries. But now he's got Portland, so Portland's going to testify against him. But I digress. So let's just read some of the lyrics. I'm scared. It feels like you don't care. Enlighten me, my dear. Why am I still here? I don't mean to be complacent with the decisions you made, but why? In the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear. And I'm sick of waiting patiently for someone that won't even arrive. In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you. That's a dark heart, isn't it? Dark heart. And if you watch that video, it's a dark video. It's so dark. There was a 14-year-old.
And he said, bro, on a stream, well, I was in school and basically all my friends were getting relationships and, going through the motions like, a regular teenager does and gets a girlfriend and they break up. Boom, boom, boom. And he said, but I wanted that, but I never got it. So I sat around and I made songs talking about it. Basically talking about a lie, living a life that I never lived through a song because he wasn't getting no girls, I guess. That's literally on a podcast. If I can find the clip, I will. I'll try and find it real quick, but pretty wild stuff.
Female that was killed, young lady by the name of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Okay. She ran away from home, was hanging out with David, and all of a sudden she turns up dead in the trunk of his car out on the side of the road. And where was he at the time? He was on tour. The car got towed and brought into, an impound lot. And one of the workers there walked by the car. And it really fucking stinks. So he called the police because he thought it smelled suspicious. And they opened the trunk and there she is. dead in the trunk of his Tesla.
Welcome in, Natalie. God bless you. I hope you're doing great. It's fine. You gotta get that bread. The economy's tough right now, so welcome in. I'm glad you caught the live as well. I usually don't do them Saturdays or at this time really, but every other Saturday I think I'm gonna do a stream because my kids are with their mom right now. I'm giving them for a visit, so welcome in. Appreciate you for being here. Much love to you.
You know,
And thank you for being the members. Shout out to all the members who support me. Thank you so much. I love you guys.
can't protect our kids from themselves all the time. You know, how sad for this family, you know, the Rivas Hernandez family. You grow up, you know, you start out, you're a baby, you know, babies are whatever, you know, I'm not a fan of babies. In fact, I'm against babies. I'm going to go on the record and say I'm anti-baby.
Bruce, come on now, bro. This is someone's baby that got killed, bro. Come on.
I'm not really anti-baby, but you know, but then all of a sudden they get fun, you know, they turn into toddlers. Like my son, Michael, he was driving down the road with my dad and he was going through a Montessori program. He was just a little guy. And somebody cut my dad off and my dad said, "Ah, you stupid sucker." And right in front of my son. And Michael, without missing a beat, "Grandpa, we don't say stupid. Sucker's just fine." Anyway, they're fun. You know, they're just, you know, and you can control or starting to just go off for overnight someplace, or, you know, you can't control that. And then you take it away. It doesn't exist to them because they don't have perspective. You know, they don't have permanency. Same thing with people who are teenagers. They don't have the foresight or the wisdom to see what their consequences of their actions are going to be down the road. They can't see what's going to happen tomorrow. You got somebody who's following around a pop star like this. She'll do whatever he says, right? And if she doesn't, she winds up in the fucking trunk of a car. How fucking sad is this? This is just so sad. This is what we know.
And she was such a pretty girl, man. You know, like, obviously, it's very sad, but she was pretty, man. She had, like, made one mistake, which was getting with this guy, and now her soul and her body are forever gone. It's just crazy.
Know that David was arrested. And
you know, like, I just couldn't imagine that happening to my kid. Like, just, you ain't able to hug them no more. You ain't able to talk to them, or, you know, you raised them. I just couldn't imagine that pain. I mean, I lost a son to SIDS at 3, but I couldn't imagine losing one at her age.
Arrested while, you know, they're preparing to bring the case file to the district attorney's office. This, you remember when we did it? We did our first video on this like 6 months ago. The grand jury was convened, I think, in December or something like that. I remember on TMZ they were talking about there's an issue with the cops saying that they're presenting this to the district attorney's office, and then the district attorney's office having this in front of the grand jury for 5 months. Well, if there's an indictment that's sealed, they're not going to let that be known, right? So there's a little bit of cloak and dagger going on. So they arrest him. He's being held without bail, right? So now he's been indicted. So the Los Angeles District, this is from I think the press release. Yeah, from the LA District Attorney's Office. Victims decomposed and dismembered remains found in David's vehicle. Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan J. Hochman announced that musician David Anthony Burke, known as David, was charged today with murdering 14-year-old Celeste.
Hey guys, make sure you like the stream, man. Try and get the likes up. Let's try and get the algorithm. Getting the algorithm. I usually don't go live at this time or on this day, but hey, we're here. We're on the grind, man. Make sure you guys like this stream. Show some love, man.
Hernandez, whose body was found decomposed and dismembered in his car that had been impounded in September 2025. That's how long it took. And here's one of the things. Her body was in that car for an extended period of time. So one of the things that you're going to have is you're going to have decomposition, which can affect, you know, the investigation. It can affect how you determine cause of death. Celeste was just under 14 years old when David Burke allegedly engaged in repeated lewd and lascivious sexual relations with her, according to Hochman. But Burke's actions did not allegedly stop there. When she threatened to expose his criminal conduct and devastate his musical career, Burke allegedly murdered her, cut up her body, and stuffed her body into bags that were placed in the front of his car. There, the dismembered body sat for over 4 months, decomposing until it was found at a tow yard on September 8, 2025. The horrific and gruesome murder committed by the charged sexual predator is shocking and appalling, according to the DA. Celeste's loved ones will get the justice they deserve. He was charged with 1 count of each of murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under the age of 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains. So when you have this type of case, it really is a circumstantial case. Unless it's a dying declaration, things that she says generally don't come into evidence. There's a rule called Rule 807. It's like if it has sufficient indicia of reliability, then it can come into evidence. But generally, dead men tell no tales. There are exceptions to that. But this is going to be a tough case for the government. It just is. The criminal complaint also includes special circumstances, allegations of murder of a witness, murder for financial gain, and lying in wait, as well as a special allegation that Burke personally used a deadly and dangerous weapon, a sharp instrument, to commit the crime. So the medical examiner has got to determine two things. One, manner of death. And the manner of death is usually one of five things. It's either homicide, suicide, natural causes, accident, or unexplained. It's one of those five things. And so I don't think they had too much, when you see somebody that's cut up, it's like, that's a homicide. There's no fucking question it's a homicide. But getting from there to cause of death.
I just love the way this guy talks. It's so funny.
Is another thing altogether. And we don't know exactly what the cause of death in this thing is yet, except for possibly blunt force trauma or some kind of stabbing. So in April 2025, Burke invited the victim to his home in the Hollywood Hills. Celeste arrived at the defendant's house and was never seen again. I mean, this is why, let me tell you something. If you're a teenager watching this, unless you're being really abused at home, and if you are, then go to a shelter, be really careful who you spend your time with. Do what you got to do to get good grades, stay in school. I know people in fucking high school just are shit. I mean, I had the worst time in high school, quite honestly. I was bullied.
Good message, Bruce. Good message.
That's why I am who I am. I'm an asshole now. No, I'm just joking. But I was bullied.
I love the way he talks. It's so funny.
High school. High school was not fun. College is fun. I had a blast in college. Law school was even better. I started getting better grades. And now I'm, look at me. I mean, I've got my own law practice. We got this channel. I've had some setbacks, Michael's death and, a lot of other things, but hey, I'm living, breathing. I got a beautiful daughter and I got a boat and condo and.
All right. I love you, bro, but we got to get to it.
An impounded. So it's a Tesla. So they get multiple trunks, I guess. Of the car.
The engine's in the back, bro.
To Burke that had been impounded after the vehicle had been reported abandoned. If convicted as charged, he faces the death penalty or life in a state prison without the possibility of parole. So this is California now. A decision on whether to seek the death penalty will be made at a later date. The case is being prosecuted by Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman of the Major Crimes Division and remains under investigation by the Los Angeles Police Department Robbery Homicide Division. They have their work cut out for them. My guess is that somewhere along the line, David fucked up. David told somebody something. Or there is some piece of evidence that has to that can't just be his car. Because anybody could have done that, right? But
when you remember back when the headlights first came out, it was said that, David allegedly let a friend at his house use that Tesla when he was gone, right? I think multiple people lived with him. That's what I think. They arrested one person already. That's probably the person that he let drive the Tesla. He, he probably went on tour and she was already chopped up or whatever and somewhere, and that guy probably moved him. That was probably the mess up right there. Is he involved him in some way?
I mean,
allegedly.
Watch. Mark my words. There's going to be electronic information that they get. I had a case where my client was the head of a pharmacy, network of pharmacies. Right. There was an allegation that he drugged this woman and had sex with her, and he got her on a dating app, and she sends him this text message. This is what you get after 3 beers, and she's holding up a beer and she's standing there in her bra and panties. Well, he had deleted all of his text messages. So we need to get that back because that was critical information. And so we got all the text messages back because you can do a forensic analysis and recover that stuff, right? I guarantee you that's happening here. I guarantee you that's happening here. The best thing to do for him would have been just to put his device, 30 leagues under the sea. And in that case that I just told you about, no charge.
Well, not only that, but you would be able to just subpoena Apple or something, right? I mean, just because he doesn't have his phone, he should have used a burner phone if that's what he was going to do, bro. Have someone else buy you a phone. Don't make him think anything of it. Or no, you just go buy it yourself. I don't know. Do something. But on your personal phone is wild.
No charges at all because we did a whole bunch of other stuff in that case. Mark my words. They're gonna recover things that were deleted. They're gonna recover communications between the two of them. And if it's his own words, that's not hearsay. That's called statement of a party opponent. And the other thing that they're gonna look at is her cell phone data. His cell phone data. Look at the tracking. This is when we think it happened, and all of a sudden he flees, right? And why would he leave his car there? Sometimes. So that when you have a circumstantial case, I know the law doesn't prefer circumstantial versus direct evidence. Direct evidence is I saw him plunge a knife into her chest. The circumstantial would be her dead body is found in his car. How else would that get there? I mean, why would it be in his car? You know, among other things. But another example of circumstantial evidence is, you know, it snowed. There are wagon wheel tracks through there. There must have been a wagon train that went through here, right? I mean, you can just kind of make that connection. And that's what is going to happen here. So let's break down the charges. Continuous sexual abuse of a child. So they must have some evidence that he had sex with this 14-year-old. You know, the thing about it is when you are dealing with the criminal sexual conduct charges and your victim is under 15 years old, consent is never a defense, number one. Number two, mistake of age, generally, if they're under 15, is not a defense. So murder, obviously we know murder is murder for financial gain. Now there, what are we talking about there? Are we talking about, you know, she's a potential witness? You know, because the next one is murder to prevent testimony. So was she planning on ruining him and he's trying to silence her to keep his fortune? Murder by lying in wait. You know, that means, okay, and that's like premeditation, right? That's me hiding in the bushes and all of a sudden I see you come out and I attack you. So use of a deadly weapon, you know, that's something that's forensically figured out. You know, there might be lacerations consistent with a knife. Mutilation of human remains, you know, i.e. the body parts in multiple bags. You know, the thing about it is, I think of all the rotten things somebody can do to somebody, right? You know, I mean, I think about the person that you fucking hate the most, ex-wife. No, I'm joking. I don't.
This motherfucker's funny, bro. Think about the person you hate the most, ex-wife. Oh, man, dude. Make sure you guys like the stream, man. Show some love and support. Say what's up in the chat, bro. We're on the road to 20K subs, man. So like the stream. Help me get in the algorithm. Show some love and support.
But I mean, certainly, you know, those kinds of things cross your mind, ex-wife. And when you think of that person that you really despise or that you really, you know, kind of fucked you over, ex-wife, what you do is you don't fucking kill them, right? You move on. You move beyond, you know, the turmoil that you went through, ex-wife. Go to hell. No, I'm totally joking. I really am joking. We get along just fine. Stay on your side of town. So here's the thing.
This guy's funny.
Not in a million years do I wish any harm to anybody, ex-wife. I mean, you just don't do that. You know, I mean, and I just.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's how it is. Like, seriously, I don't even know how to say your name. I'm just gonna say Cody or Coat. But I mean, yeah. I mean, if they can get your trunk open, the thing is like if your car's locked and stuff like that, how do they get your trunk open, or how do they open it without causing like a scene because the alarm will go off, or, you know? But yeah, I mean. Then the lawyer, especially if the lawyer didn't know, and this guy knew how to break into cars without like being caught. If the lawyer didn't know someone and they dumped a body in his car and he got charged for it, that would be insane. Because he wouldn't know who it is. Who could possibly do this? You'd have to really fight that.
Hey, what? So she's gonna take your fucking medicine.
Chill out, bro.
You know, you commit a capital crime in order to preserve your. I mean, that's a 21-year-old brain thinking there, right? What is the one main rule? You never commit a felony to avoid a misdemeanor. Well, you don't create greater harm or greater risk than what you would otherwise suffer. Is it possible she might come forward and say, hey, I'm pregnant. You need to pay for this baby. He's like, fuck, you're 14. I can't have anybody knowing that you're pregnant. I mean, maybe that was the case.
I'm sorry.
And if that's the case, well, let's just fucking deal with it. Let's pay her a shit ton of money and hopefully we can shut her up. Kobe Bryant. Remember what Kobe Bryant did? I mean, he was being charged in Colorado. Remember that?
Dude, this guy's fucking... I mean, dude, this guy's funny as shit.
All of a sudden, she's just not talking anymore. Why is that? Show me the money. So the grand jury has indicted him, right? And here's what a grand jury is. 18 to 23 people. They sit for a term, and it can be 6 to 18 months generally. And it's a secret process. So when Harvey Levine tries to tell you he knows everything that's going on in the grand jury room, no, you don't, buddy. No, you don't. And I don't mean to impugn Harvey Levine, except if I don't like him, he's a prick. No, I'm joking. So, but you don't know what's going on in the grand jury process. So, but here's the thing. It's a charging tool, an investigative tool. That's all it is. It gives the prosecutor subpoena power, so he can compel people to go before the grand jury. There's no judge, and there's no defense lawyer. So if I'm David's lawyer, he goes before the grand jury and he wants to testify, which I would never have him do that to begin with. But lawyer can't even be in the room. If they have a question, they can stop, come out, ask you the question, and then go back to the grand jury. All they are deciding is whether there's probable cause on every count that he's, charged with. So it is important to note that probable cause is the lowest standard in our system. It's just slightly more true than not, and that's all it is. So he was arrested. Then they have a detention hearing, and he's being held without bail because of the severity of the charges. And from a defense standpoint, Robert says, "What's his lawyer doing right now?" Well, he's picking his ass. So here's what the defense team is doing at this point. They are sifting through. Well, they don't have the discovery probably quite yet. One of the things that they'll do is sign a protective order to protect sensitive information from the public and from to protect the family and that kind of thing. So they won't be able to share this information, generally speaking. But
Yo, Natalie, what's up, man? What'd you do? You didn't have to do that. Let's see. Hold on 1 second.
a circumstantial case. So when you look at the timeline of things, well, he was over in Minneapolis when this happened, so he couldn't have done it. You try to create avenues of plausibility in terms of he didn't do this. This is.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for the 50. You didn't have to do that. I thought you was still working. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Natalie. I'm going to write your name down right now. You didn't have to do that much. I know it's very hard out here. Freaking box of Cheerios is $10. Seriously. I mean, dude. We need Jesus, man, because I remember when it was like 3. Thank you so much, Natalie. I really appreciate you. I'm going to write your name down real quick.
One of the cases where you can say, well, he did it, but he had a darn good reason. Because there's no really legitimate affirmative defense you can say that, well, I just got scared, so I cut up the body. So Robert's got some questions here. And so the defense team is asking for a preliminary hearing so a judge can decide whether there's enough evidence for trial. Burke is entitled under California law to have the evidentiary hearing within 10 court days of his arraignment. Now, the DA said, we'll be happy to put on the evidence that we've collected. So question, how could this hearing derail the prosecution? I don't think it.
Thank you, Natalie, again for the 50, man. I got your name on the wall. This wall is growing so fast. It's crazy. I really can't express how much it means to me. I really do appreciate you and hope to see you in new streams and stuff like that. I miss you in here. There's a lot of people that, like, Pumpkin's gone. She don't even come in no more. Like, I hate that when that happens because I always get close to you guys, and then some people leave. I'm like, man, Skippy's mad too. But $10 is very crazy for cereal. Seriously. Like $4 for a freaking 2-liter. Like, even the dollar stores are expensive now. Like, it's just crazy. Hopefully it gets better, and that's why you just gotta get your grind on and work hard. And I dropped my daughters off with their mom for a few hours, so I just I'm on the grind, man. You gotta get on here at any time. You gotta work hard. So, and also I'm trying to really spam some shorts out there so I can get versatile or whatever. I got my Facebook going. Well, my Facebook's been going, but I got See Me Now Facebook, See Me Now Instagram, See Me Now Twitter, and See Me Now YouTube. So, and Kick. So I got 5 places I can stream to, so, or post things on. But thank you again, Natalie. Sorry I'm rambling. I did kind of smoke before this, so my bad. Fucking cereal. I shouldn't have mentioned that. Now I'm mad. I mean, I honestly, I feel like I could flip some. No, I guess not. I was gonna say I feel like I could flip some Cheerios, man. Go buy some Cheerios, hold them for a little bit. Then when prices get super high, I'll sell them for higher than what I bought them.
Doesn't the defense already have the right to know what evidence they have against him? They do, but this gives them an opportunity to
Much love, Natalie, for real.
Examine witnesses that and in a preliminary hearing, they don't have to have. They can present hearsay evidence where you normally couldn't present hearsay, and so like a agent of the government or a detective can summarize what the evidence is, and you get a chance to prod and push and test their resolve in a hearing. But then again, keep in mind, it only has to meet probable cause standard. So let's just take a look at his arrest. He had to know this was coming. I'm just surprised that it took this long to make it happen. He's a little fella, isn't he?
He's a little fella, isn't he? That's what I was saying. I was like, man, that guy is so small. But I'm 6'2". I mean, there's people bigger than me, but I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. So I mean, I'd crush him like an ant.
Pretty uneventful arrest, obviously. And let's take a look at some comments from the DA. pretty little girl. Although it's not like if she was ugly that this would be any less heinous. We always do that, don't we? You know, we focus on people's looks and say, oh, what a shame she's so pretty. Like if she was an ugly little girl, that it would be, oh, that's okay. She was ugly. And we don't.
Mr. Burke, excuse me, Miss Celeste remains, her dismembered and decomposed remains were found in 2 bags inside of a trunk of a car registered to Mr. Burke.
Now, here's the deal. When you think about being a lawyer in a case like this where you're defending somebody, you start out in a fucking hole because you got a dismembered body in bags all over the place. So you got to have a plan B.
God, his mugshot too. He looks like he's, yeah.
You have to have an alternative perpetrator because it can't be you.
Thereafter began an investigation. The investigation was to determine who killed, who murdered Celeste months and months before. That investigation was carried out in unison and in partnership between the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division and the District Attorney's Office. At every point in the investigation, through the arrest and the filing of charges, the LAPD and the District Attorney's Office have worked in lockstep. There's been no disagreements amongst these entities in deciding how to proceed.
I know, Natalie. Every single time, like earlier, he was like, think about something you really hate. And he was just like, ex-wife. He's funny. That's why I wanted to watch him, because he's really, he gives you a lot of information, but he gives it to you like in a comedic way.
This case ultimately leading to these charges today. So what you have,
You know, you look at that little girl, and I'm going to call her a little girl because that's exactly what she is. She's a child. And, you know, they come out of the womb, you know, just a blank slate. You know, they start out just, you know, with hope and dreams, and to end, you know, as, you know, discarded body parts. How fucking awful for.
I know. I was just saying that earlier. I couldn't imagine. This guy wouldn't even have made it to jail, bro. Because his parents, her parents allegedly knew this was going on, and her friends. And he was paying, there's a picture of him paying her friends, allegedly. And it's this whole thing. And not only that, but it's like, then why would you unalive her if she's going to out you? Like, how? People knew. And the one thing that really frustrates me too is apparently Celeste's parents says she's not going to be going, or they're not going to be going to the proceedings. How could you not go to the proceedings? Like, seriously. I mean, dude, I would be there every single day to look this mother effer in these eyes, you know? And not only that, but there apparently there was 2 other very young girls there by the prosecutor, and they haven't been mentioned in the case yet, but they're there. So maybe they're other victims, or maybe they're friends of hers that knew. I don't know. Make sure you guys like the stream, man. Get those likes up. Show some love and support.
Family.
what you have as well with these charges is that, again, there are 3 sets of charges that have been brought. The first-degree murder with special circumstances, and again, those special circumstances are lying in wait. That Celeste went to Mr. Burke's home on the night of April 23rd, 2025, as alleged in the complaint, at his invitation.
So they've done their homework on this, you know, and that's all electronic data. I guarantee it.
Again, was not heard from again. The second is a special circumstance being that this murder was committed for financial gain. As the evidence will show in court, the financial gain was for Mr. Burke to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening on that particular night.
And how do they know that? Text messages? Probably other people that were around that night?
The third charge, in addition to lying in wait and for financial gain, is murdering a witness to an investigation. In this particular case, as the evidence will come out in court, the witness to the investigation was Celeste. And the investigation was into the lewd and lascivious sexual acts committed by Mr. Burke that is the subject of count 2 of this complaint with Celeste while she was under 14 years old.
So when you have that kind of case, when you have
Welcome
a predator,
in there, buddy.
and
Make sure you like the stream.
general murder cases, you know, where it's like, let's say Nick came over to my house and I shot him, you know, and I said I shot him because he threatened me, you know. Well, juries will sit on the edge of their seat and, okay, tell me what happened. I want to know the story. That's why I like those kind of cases, because, you know, you can tell a story. When you have this kind of case, or any kind of like sex case, I guarantee you, you sit down and, you know, with your client on the counsel table, the jury looks at your client, not like, oh, let's find out what happened. Let's just unsolve this murder risk. No, they're like, the fuck did he do? Honestly, I know that's how the jurors think. They're supposed to come with a clean slate. They're supposed to, I have an open mind. I can wait until all the evidence is in. Bullshit. You picture that guy doing what the judge just told you he's accused of. And so it's very difficult for the defense team because, in every criminal sexual conduct case, there's three parties. There's the perpetrator, there's the victim, and then there's the rescuer, right? And the rescuer is always the jury. But who are they going to rescue? And the trick in this is to say, my client is the victim here because he's being falsely accused. And then you want them to think of either the government or the complaining witnesses as the perpetrators. It's very difficult in a case like this where she's dead in bags in his trunk. Unbelievable. And then how do you have him testify? So let's take a look at his not guilty plea.
Calling People versus David Anthony Burke. That's case number 26 CJC F02399.
Good morning or good afternoon, Your Honor. Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter on behalf of our client, David Burke, who's in custody.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
So Blair Burke, her father is part of the American Board of Criminal Lawyers, which was a good friend of my former law partner. And I've actually spoken to her on occasion. So Blair Burke has also represented Britney Spears and a number of high-profile celebrities. Whether she actually tries this case or not remains to be seen.
Mr. Burke.
Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman to the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. And counsel, on behalf of your client, do you waive formal reading of the complaint, advisement of rights, including armed forces?
Get Drew Finley on this motherfucking case. He'll get him off there. But no, he doesn't need to be getting off. But I'm just saying, Drew Finley's a phenomenal lawyer.
Veterans' rights, enter a plea of not guilty, denying any and all special allegations,
Agreed, not
enhancements, and
indexed.
priors,
Yes, Your Honor.
and requesting a preliminary hearing within the period.
Yes, Your Honor. From the media reports, apparently there have been 4 months of secret grand jury proceedings. We believe that Mr. Burke is entitled at the earliest opportunity to an open preliminary hearing and the proceedings not be done in secret. So we are asking for a preliminary.
Preliminary hearings are never done in secret. That's a statement designed for the cameras.
Hearing to be set at the earliest possible date on the 10th day. Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
You generally don't do this at a preliminary hearing or not at an arraignment. This is an arraignment. That's where you plead, basically not guilty or have the charges read to you. And then they usually enter a not guilty plea.
Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death. And we would like to be able to have the evidence come into the light of day at the earliest opportunity in order to establish that. We're asking for April 23rd as a 3 of 10.
Yeah, Lenny BB, like, if you pay to have it done, though, bro, I want my motherfucking money back, bro. Like, why is it in my trunk? If you pay to have it done, it better be, like, that person better be gone off this earth, out of this universe, right?
Anything from the people?
We'll be very happy to put on the evidence.
We'll be very happy. Oh, look at that little cat fight going on there. I shouldn't say that because that's very sexist for me to say, but that's who I am. I'm sexist. I want cat fighting. We'll be very happy to show that your piece of shit client murdered this woman.
That we collected in this case in the last several months.
Thank you. So the matter will be set.
You see if she does this number? That's like,
What a guy.
I got you, girl. Fucking that really, this whole thing between these two lawyers
Welcome
right now,
in, Josh.
that's for the cameras. That is 100% for the cameras.
Will be set. A plea of not guilty has been entered on behalf of Mr. Burke. The matter will be set in Department 105. The matter is ordered assigned to Judge Charlene Almeida in Department 105 for all purposes by the judge of the supervising judge of criminal.
Generally, you say this is a high-profile celebrity, and so he's not. You remember what OJ said? I'm 100% not guilty, and they did his arraignment twice, so he could do it better the second time. Can we do another take? That's exactly what happened. And so this is 100% for the cameras. 90%, 99, sometimes 100. You say, Your Honor, can we just get a preliminary date? Okay, not guilty. See you later. That's really how these things go. They're pro forma, but they want to get.
I mean, it is Hollywood, right? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to Worlds. Much love to everybody, man. Make sure you guys double tap that screen, show some love and support. Hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 20K, most importantly 100K, but we're so close to 11K. So show some love and support, man. This guy's freaking funny. After this, we'll get into the law and crime stuff. But yeah, let's finish this.
That out there for his client.
Yes, Your Honor. If I may just put on the record, we have, as soon as the people arrive, delivered a informal discovery request consistent with Penal Code Section 1054. We have been given almost no discovery thus far. We've received a 3-page follow-up report.
It's the arraignment. It's the arraignment. You almost never get the discovery before the arraignment.
No autopsy report, and a copy of the complaint. And we would ask the people respectfully to produce discovery at the earliest opportunity.
Your Honor, as I indicated to counsel, there's approximately 40 terabytes of discovery in this case.
40 terabytes of discovery.
That's insane.
That's a lot of discovery. And here's the thing. There's no way she can review all that by the 23rd.
Moreover, in order to obtain the transcripts from a grand jury investigation, counsel has to file a motion. She knows the way the system works. I'm not able to gather those. They have to be provided after the court.
Yeah, like I brought up earlier, Never Under Pressure, her parents said that they aren't coming to the proceedings. Like, that is crazy to me. How could you be the parents of this girl and not show up to the court proceedings of the guy who potentially unalived her? That is just, it boggles my mind.
And released because it was an investigation. Second of all, if counsel plans on going to a preliminary hearing within the 10 days, it is unlikely that there will be very much discovery provided within that period, given the voluminous nature and how long it's going to take to copy onto drives. In addition to that, the coroner's report was sealed in this case in order to prevent it from hampering truthful testimony from witnesses that testified at the grand jury. So an order will also have to be obtained in order to get the coroner's department, which is now the medical examiner's department.
See, criminal lawyers and
Make
prosecutors.
sure you guys like that stream, man. Show some love and support. Double tap your screens. If double tapping doesn't work, hit the 3 dots on the top right corner and like the stream that way. Hit the notification bell with the subscribe button. Show some love, man. Let's get in the algorithm.
Are generally convivial, right? But you put the added celebrity nature of this case, you got to look like you're tough, you know? And so you kind of have to go to the mat, so to speak. And that's why Blair Burke is doing this. It's for the cameras. It's not for anything else.
To release those materials.
Your Honor, it's surprising news given that the District Attorney's Office held a press conference this morning where they discussed the cause of death, apparently under seal and not released by the coroner's office, as did the robbery homicide unit to the press. So we would again reiterate, we believe that Mr.
Okay, this is what I don't like about lawyers. They feel like they have to reiterate. You've already said what you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not think it would be found, you know, if it's in the back of his car? It's just, or in his trunk, whatever, his frunk. But it's just like, yeah. I mean, people say it's likely he killed before, but I don't think so, dude. If he was this stupid to leave it in his trunk and then just let it get, you know, taken with a towing truck to a fucking whatever it's called, a car yard, or I can't remember what it's called, impound lot, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. So maybe in a way he wanted to be caught. I don't know.
Get in, get out, get what you need. See you later.
Mr. Burke is entitled to discovery. We have served the people with notice. They have 15 days to produce discovery in this case. We would ask that they do that in conscientious earnestness and as quickly as possible.
Well, I guarantee you they will do it with conscientious earnestness. Okay. How about in a diligent fashion? How about get it to be right the fuck now? You know, some of this is just theater, right? But she's right. I mean, they're entitled to it. And that's it. And so you're not going to have.
All right, bro. I'm sorry, but we're going to just get into it on long crime because he's just talking about simple stuff now. So I want to get into it real quick. So there we go. Let's kind of just go over some of these videos, skim over them, and you know, get the information in lock here. I don't know if some of you guys have seen this, but you haven't. Buckle up, show some love and support. Much love to everybody. Double tap your screen.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Jesse Weber Live. So we have got just another absolutely jam-packed show for you this Thursday, because first of all, there are big updates in the murder case against singer David that we've been following, including the release of the medical examiner's report and what was apparently found on his phone. That came out in court today. We're going to get into it. Plus, big news out of the Middle East, right? Israel, Lebanon have now agreed to extend the ceasefire on the war front by 3 weeks in a deal that was worked out in Washington, D.C. We're going to break down exactly why that is important and what it means for negotiations between the United States and Iran, because the tensions, once again, are running quite high with the Strait of Hormuz. Later on, daughter of Lynette Hooker, who went missing in the Bahamas, she's going to join me. Remember, Lynette disappeared after allegedly falling off a dinghy that she and her husband Brian had been riding on in order to get back.
I'm sorry, but I don't care about the dinghy, bro. Shut the fuck up. Let's get into a different video of it. Come on, bro. Here, let's just go to Law and Crimes channel.
Singer David and his legal
Appreciate the like, Joshua. Much love, bro. Video audio is muted. Are you sure? You're right. What the hell? Hold on one sec. Thank you for letting me know, Natalie. Let me know if this is better. I appreciate you. That's why you're the best, man. Straight up. Appreciate you, bro. Hold on.
specifically what authorities claim they found on David's devices. I wonder if this is a whole new game here. I wonder if now we're talking potential federal charges, if those allegations are true. I'll get to that. But before we even get into what happened today, I just got to give you some context.
Yeah, but it goes through my mic. That's why I have to unmute a mic or unplug it and stuff. Yeah, there we go.
This, okay? So we have talked about this before. Remember, when I'm mentioning a preliminary hearing, which I understand has now been scheduled for a later date, this goes back to the idea of the grand jury. We know that there were reports that a grand jury was impaneled to hear evidence in the case of this 21-year-old singer, but there was no grand jury indictment, right? There was no formal charges. No, instead, at the beginning of this week, the Los Angeles County District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, his office, filed...
Sorry, guys. I'm just getting over being sick, so if I'm sniffing a lot, my bad.
Degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14, and unlawful mutilation of human remains charges against David in connection with the death of Celeste. Remember, her decomposed and dismembered body was reportedly found September 8th, 2025 in the trunk of a car allegedly registered to David, real name David Anthony Burke. And he's also facing special circumstances allegations, right? Lying in wait, killing for financial gain, killing of a witness, using a sharp instrument, all with respect to the murder charge. And this is significant because this can carry heavier penalties if he's convicted of the murder charge. We're talking life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, I heard his one song that they talked, the one with the In the Back of My Mind song or whatever. I heard that.
Talking the death penalty, even though there is a moratorium on executions in California. But this is why it's so significant, why the prosecution believes they have evidence to prove that. And the main idea...
I just don't get why people pierce themselves like this. Like, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. I thought that was a... It's like, bro, come on, dog. You're better than that.
here is essentially that David allegedly killed Celeste because she was going to expose him potentially about their illegal underage sexual relationship. I think that's the fair argument, and that this was going to affect his career, which was on the rise. Remember, he was on tour when all of this happened. Now, as we learned yesterday, when the autopsy report was released, that Celeste's official cause of death was multiple penetrating injuries, and her manner of death was listed as homicide. We did a whole sidebar yesterday with forensics examiner Dr. Mary Jimbelik. It's up on YouTube right now, up on our Long Crime YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. Oh, and by the way, the full autopsy report, if you want to go through the details, if you want to see it for yourself, it's up on our app. Law and Crime Plus as well, if you want to check it out. I actually think it's significant that we're putting these case files on the app because, look, unfortunately in today's day and age, there's a lot of misinformation. There are a lot of AI tools someone can use to make fake reports or fake information. This is the official released autopsy report. It's up on Law and Crime Plus, so you can check it out there. But bottom line, David was charged by the DA's office, but in order for this to move forward, in order for this to go to a trial, there has to be a legal determination that there is sufficient probable cause that David committed these crimes to move forward with this case. Again, lower standard, and if it's not by a grand jury, then it needs to be by a judge at a preliminary hearing. And by the way, preliminary hearing is a little bit different than a grand jury because grand jury proceedings are secret. The defense doesn't have an opportunity to challenge that evidence. Preliminary hearing in court, in front of a judge, defense there. They get an opportunity to fight back against this. But anyway, brings us to today. This courthouse in downtown LA. By the way, just talking about a preliminary hearing for a second, David's attorneys, his defense attorneys,
Make sure you guys double tap that screen, man. Get those likes up, show some love and support. I'm gonna go to the bathroom in a few minutes.
For a preliminary hearing immediately. They have said that he didn't commit this murder. They have said that he was not the cause of her death. But what happened today? Now, look, there were no cameras in the courtroom. The good news, we have our own eyes and ears, okay? We have our own eyes and ears. Attorney and legal analyst Dina Dahl was in that courtroom. So good to see you, Dina. Thanks for taking the time. First of all, I need you to clarify what this hearing was, because I think a lot of us thought this was going to be the preliminary hearing. We thought that was on the calendar. That was not the case, even though they did talk about when the preliminary hearing is going to be scheduled, right?
Absolutely. It was calendared as a preliminary hearing, but the judge at the outset said, I'm sure that's not actually going to start today. Let's talk about it. And that's exactly what they did, scheduling it. And most importantly, talking about the discovery, the transferring of what seems to be a mountain of evidence from the prosecution to the defense and the logistics of how that's going to happen.
And I want to get into that because quite the headline, what was allegedly found on either David's phone or his devices, which we'll get to. But the preliminary hearing is scheduled for next week, right? And is this because there's just, like you said, there's so much evidence to go through, there's so much data to go through?
Well, this is significant. They have not waived their right to a speedy preliminary hearing. The very last day it could be under law was May 4th. But the judge said, I don't like to schedule it that last day because there could be unexpected circumstances just with the court system in general. So they have scheduled it for May 1st. But significantly, they will all be back in front of the judge the afternoon of April 29th in order for the defense to determine whether or not the prosecution has handed over enough evidence where they think they can properly defend their client at the hearing. The judge making a point that although statutory law requires the prosecution to hand over everything prior to trial, they are not required to do that for a preliminary hearing. They just have to hand over sufficient evidence that is most favorable to the defendant in order to prove probable cause. So that afternoon of April 29th, the defense will determine if they think they have enough evidence to continue with this speedy preliminary hearing.
Dina, let me ask you this. The autopsy report that came out yesterday, is that a reason why we didn't have a preliminary hearing today? Did they talk about that? Because there's a lot in that report. That's the official cause of death. We know the defense has said that David is not the cause of death. Did that come up today?
That did not come up. As they really spoke about the fact that they have a wide range of evidence that the defense has not getting. Specifically, they actually highlighted the fact that they have the significant amount of child pornography on his iPhone, but they did not get into the specifics of the medical examiner's report.
Okay, so talk to me about the big bombshell. Apparently they found what, or allegedly found what, on David's devices?
So she said the words, the prosecution said, a significant amount of child pornography. And she raised this saying it is going to be different. You cannot hand over that type of evidence to the defense as you would the rest of the evidence. The defense has to instead have somebody, a counsel or an expert, go to the county and actually look at a determined computer to look at this because of the sensitive nature of that evidence. The prosecution also highlighting the amount of this evidence and the evidence on the data and the cell phone in general because of the difficulty and how long it takes to hand and transfer over this kind of amount of evidence.
Okay, put your legal cap on. Are we talking potential federal charges? You and I both know that if someone is caught with allegedly child sexual abuse material on their devices, that could be federal charges.
That's a really great point. And it's very possible federal charges may come. At this point, though, it definitely is relevant and probative to one of the three charges. There are three charges against him: murder, continuous child sex abuse, and mutilation of a corpse. So this specific child pornography evidence is definitely going to be used.
If he goes to federal prison, especially around California, he is not going to make it, bro. He's going to PC up right away.
Prosecution for that continuous child sexual abuse. But whether or not the federal prosecutors decide to add charges, we will wait and see.
Just want to clarify, any idea who was portrayed in these, this footage, these videos, this data on his phone? Is it Celeste? Is it someone else? Did prosecutors acknowledge that? And let me be clear, allegedly on his phone. Did they say the identity of this person or persons?
They did not say the identity, but even that specific phrase, the press, there was a ton of...
Dude, you can pretty much take a guess of who it was, right? You can pretty much assume that it's her, but the real question is are there other girls that are underage on there, allegedly?
In the courtroom, everybody had their laptops out taking notes, and you just heard the chatter of the typing. Just the phrase significant amount of child pornography was enough to raise flags about what may become in this trial.
What about, I read there was something about a wiretap and search warrants?
Exactly. They said that there was a significant amount of evidence collected in a wiretap. There was also 3 different investigative grand juries, one convened in November, one in December, and one in February. The prosecution really trying to convey to the judge how much evidence they have and the difficulty of it to be able to be transferred to the defense that quickly. They did say, however, that they plan on handing the defense tomorrow arrest records, photographic evidence, chemical evidence reports, and DNA evidence reports.
Wait a second. Let's just take a step back here.
Okay, so chemical is like probably stuff found in the house, or chemical evidence that was on his floors or wherever he allegedly unalived her. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Sucks there's no cameras in the courtroom, but like I said, it's probably because there's such it's a minor that they're dealing with for the victim. So
we were debating whether or not there was a grand jury that was going to be investigating this case, right? Locking in witness testimony, gathering evidence, that they didn't have the power to indict. That was one thing. Now we're learning there were multiple grand juries that were all in this investigative function. Not one of them had the power to indict.
That's what came out today. The prosecution said specifically investigative grand juries without the power to indict. And they said it was up to the defense to request that these records be unsealed.
And the latest grand jury was what, February?
That's what they said. February was the latest one.
What was the vibe in that courtroom? Let's start here. What did David look like?
So when David came in, he was in his orange jumpsuit. He sat down. His attorney, Blair Book, immediately put her hand on his shoulder. Every time she conferred with her client, she in fact put her hand on his shoulder. He vigorously nodded even every time the judge referred to him. If he asked her a question, he answered in the affirmative. At the very end, when she was explaining the process of how he's going to be brought back to the hearing and how he may have to wait but make sure he's on time, he folded his hands in a prayer position. But otherwise, he was just quietly listening to the proceedings and listening to his lawyers speak on his behalf.
And what about for the prosecution? Who was there?
The prosecution, they had their attorneys. Interestingly, there were 2 young girls sitting next to the investigators. They were not referenced. They were not conferred with. We know that the Hernandez family said in advance they did not plan on attending the hearing. So it's unclear who those girls were.
I just want to be clear about something. There have been rumors, there has been speculation that David has allegedly, hasn't been charged, but allegedly maybe been involved with other minors. Is there anything to indicate that those, and I want to make sure your terminology is correct, you're saying they were children, they're not women, they appear to be children, were there? Is that somehow connected to other people that might allegedly be in David's orbit?
You do wonder, they looked, of course I did not have their identification, but they looked young.
Sorry, guys. I just want
The reported friend of David, someone who was arrested, someone who allegedly testified in front of a grand jury hearing evidence in the case involving the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the man known as Neo Langston, just took to Instagram. And he had...
I just want I don't really know much about the whole friend situation, so I want to play this back. I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, though. I will be right back.
A lot to say. It was quite revealing, and he seemingly threw David under the bus. We're going to break down what he posted and what this means. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting this, okay? This is an interesting update in the David Celeste Rivas Hernandez case that we want to talk about, and it concerns Neo Langston. Now, if you've been following us here on Sidebar, you know this is apparently a friend of the romantic homicide singer who was arrested out in Montana back in January on a Los Angeles warrant for reportedly failing to appear as a witness, that he was reportedly arrested at his mom's house and then taken to Los Angeles' Metropolitan Detention Center. He bonded out on a $60,000 bail. He then reportedly testified in front of a grand jury hearing evidence in connection with this case back in February that he allegedly spent about 30 to 45 minutes inside that grand jury room. Relatively short amount of time to testify if you think about it. So you do wonder, did he plead the fifth, right? Did he invoke his right against self-incrimination not to say anything that can be used against him in a criminal case? And also raised a lot of questions about why he was apparently called to testify by the government and wasn't the target of this grand jury probe, right? In other words, why weren't prosecutors maybe pursuing a case against him as a co-defendant here? This raised a lot of questions. Now, I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But again, at the time of this recording, neither David nor anyone else has officially been arrested or charged in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose dismembered and decomposed body was found in the trunk of a car allegedly registered to David back in September in LA. And yes, there has been a lot of speculation, but no confirmation that Celeste and David were in some kind of relationship. Authorities haven't officially come out and said that. But she had been missing for quite some time before her body was found. Now, here's what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to read you what Neo Langston just posted on his Instagram account. And I will tell you, it's quite telling, okay? And I'm curious why he posted it, why of all times right now. I'm going to try to put it into context a bit more. But this is important. This is a big development. So Neo took to Instagram with a series of posts. There was one that said, "I understand due to my silence and the silence in general, it leaves a void of information that everyone wants to fill. But at the end of the day, this case isn't about me. It isn't about you. It's about getting justice for the victim and her family, and I care a lot more about that than trying to fill that void because of public opinion. Obviously wasn't doing my part at first, but now I am. I've stayed loyal to my mindset, and I will continue to. I'm not publicly going to give any opinion or emotion about this case because I find it disrespectful and not my place to weigh in on it, especially as it's still ongoing. I'm not going to spam post to justify and perform my feelings and thoughts for the internet, trying to satisfy people who have already made up their minds about me. In time, the record will speak for itself, and I'm moving on with my life." There's another post where he apparently said, "I think the worst part is that I've told so many people that I trust and I thought knew me as a person, my side of things, all for that to be thrown out the window as soon as I get arrested and they slap that bleep's name next to mine." I'm assuming he's referring to David here. "And for the record, the thing I was arrested for, I wasn't even charged. They never filed it, and my warrant was retracted because there is more to the story than what's on the news." Then there's this post. "Thankfully, I'm legally fine in every way, and boy, do I got all my receipts for things. Ha 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 ha." This raises a lot of questions about why he posted this. Obviously, he can't and will not say anything to jeopardize his legal rights, right? Probably instructed by the government to not say anything either if he had spoken in front of the grand jury. Probably his attorney said, don't say anything. I don't even know if his attorney was consulted with this post, but it seems like he's trying to correct whatever misconception or misunderstanding the public has on him or his alleged role in this, because there is a lot of talk about him. And it is interesting, he never really gets into specifics, right? He doesn't mention the crime or the alleged crime, doesn't mention Celeste by name, doesn't mention David by name. We can assume who he's talking about based on the post. He doesn't mention what these receipts are, or what this is in reference to. Is it photos? Is it messages? His account, his testimony? And I don't know if these other people that he's referring to, who he's putting blame are other witnesses who named him or people in his inner circle who have turned on him. Not entirely sure. But he believes that in due time, based on this post, that his side of the story is going to make the light of day. Interesting. I gotta say this real quick. We cover a lot of concerning things here on Sidebar, so that's why I just want to give a quick shout out to our partner CyberGhost VPN, because have you ever hesitated to connect to public Wi-Fi like in a restaurant, airport, work, school, because you're scared that someone might steal your information? It's totally valid. The truth is, eyes are watching you every time you go online, but there's a solution. CyberGhost VPN. You select one of their hundreds of locations before you browse, and they'll encrypt everything through their secure servers. This way, no one can track your online activity. It works on up to 7 devices at once, so you can share with family and friends. And with just a couple clicks, CyberGhost unlocks exclusive geo-restricted content from over 40 major streamers like Netflix and Prime. And with over 38 million users worldwide and a nearly perfect rating on Trustpilot, CyberGhost, it's one of the most recommended VPNs out there. And look, if you're still not sure, there's a 45-day money-back guarantee and 84% discount plus 4 months free with a link in my description. That's just $2.03 a month to protect your privacy and enjoy unlimited content. Not bad. So don't wait. Click the link in the description. Start browsing safely with CyberGhost VPN. Stay private, stay secure, unlock global content. Get CyberGhost VPN now with 84% off plus 4 months free, risk-free with a 45-day money-back guarantee. Click the link in the description and start protecting your digital life today. Now, his attorney released a statement. And this read, this is according to LA Magazine, my client, Mr. Langston, will not make any public statement at this time as the investigation is ongoing. What I can share is that since returning to Los Angeles, Mr. Langston has fully cooperated with law enforcement and will continue to assist the prosecution as needed. So this makes me think that maybe he didn't plead the fifth. As the investigation continues, it will become clear that Mr. Langston played no part in this heinous crime and that he was and continues to be wrongfully persecuted in the court of public opinion, resulting in unwarranted and belligerent harassment directed towards my client and his family. So this suggests that there might be a lot that we're not seeing about maybe messages or threats that he and his family are receiving. We sincerely hope that justice is ultimately served for the victim and her family, seemingly. Celeste. Do you know who reacted to this? I think you probably have an idea if you've been following us here on Sidebar. Private investigator Steve Fisher, who has been very vocal about this case, both here on Sidebar, on my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, on social media, because as somebody who has been investigating this case from the beginning, remember, he represents the owner of the property where David had apparently been staying in Los Angeles, near where that Tesla was ultimately found. He is very disappointed there have not been arrests yet. And he believes, and he has, again, been very vocal about this, that he believes others are involved in some way. So he wrote this in response to Neo's post. Quote, so here's the thing, Neo. If you have to tell my side of things, that means you were involved in the things. You just want everyone to believe you did less of the things. People who weren't involved don't have a my side of things. And how tone deaf are you exactly? Your Weep For Me post has 11 references to you and not a single mention of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who is dead. She's dead because of the things you're trying to explain away. Nobody cares about your feelings, Neo. This is about Celeste and justice in her name. Hashtag Neo the Asian. Hashtag David. Okay, now as I mentioned, Steve has been quite vocal about Neo. This, by the way, is just to give you examples from a previous episode of Sidebar when I talked to Steve, and this is when he referenced Neo's arrest. This is what you said in part, the arrest of Neil Langston for failure to appear to give testimony, which are the exact words used by the sheriff's department when speaking with me, concerns me to a certain extent, assuming this arrest is related to the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. Targets are not typically called to testify in a case. At the state level, target letters are not always required, but issuing a subpoena to a target without providing notice is extremely risky. A defense attorney would likely argue that any testimony was coerced. Had Neo received a target letter, he almost certainly would have retained counsel and invoked his Fifth Amendment rights. That makes me think that he's viewed as a witness rather than someone currently at risk of being charged. Did one person act alone in concealing Celeste's body? If this was a homicide, did a single individual act alone without a conspirator? I find that unlikely. This leads me to believe that Neo may represent a last-ditch effort by prosecutors, a Hail Mary of sorts, because they do not yet have what they need to fully make the case. They may be attempting to pressure him into cooperating, potentially by offering immunity. Is Neo the last hope? So Steve, just to break that down for a second, I hear exactly what you're saying. In other words, there's a possibility here that Neo may be involved in what happened to Celeste, and bringing him in strictly as a witness as opposed to somebody that the grand jury can issue an indictment against. I could hear your concern. Something I mentioned on my show, and I'll mention with you again, is there is always the possibility that, assuming for a moment that Neo and David are connected to this, he could be testifying against David, he could be testifying against David and another individual or another individual. There could be people, Neo might just have knowledge of something and not actually be a part of whatever happened to Celeste, right? That's still a possibility.
Absolutely, it is. But there is more. I think I'm looking at this whole situation a little bit broader than just the homicide. I understand the homicide is what we're looking for, but Celeste was trafficked, and listen, there's messages back and forth. They knew her age, and so it's not just that. Listen, there's sex crimes against this girl, and there's some people who knew what was going on. There's some people that gave rides to her back and forth, even to Lake Elsinore, and so it's not just the homicide for me. I just think that this is one of these things where we got to start standing up for these young girls that are just taken advantage of by these predators, and I hope it's not a situation where it's like we can't make the homicide, we just can't get there with it and let it go, because there is other crimes, whether it's concealment of the body, whether it's anybody that helped in facilitating her to stay with David. And so it's not just the homicide, it's just everything that happened to Celeste. It's the whole breakdown.
So it is interesting.
Sorry, guys. I was in the bathroom for a minute. Much love to all you guys, though. Hope you guys are having a good time. Welcome in, Stacy. Much love, much love. Thank you guys for dropping the Ko-Fi and the Discords in the chat, by the way. Yeah, if you want to be more immersed in the community, go to the Discord, join the family. Also, if you guys have like things and updates you guys see, you can put it through there and I can check it out. But let's get into this. My bad, y'all.
Neo to post this. And
I'm sorry, but why are these guys putting stars on their face? Like, to me, allegedly, like these guys look like lovers, right? I mean, they got to be lovers. Matching stars on the face, painting his nails. Oh, looking in the mirror like, oh, so feminine, like,
about what he may be testified to and what his alleged role is in all of this and why the government seemingly needs him as that kind of connective tissue, right, to get to David. I mean, that seems to be the argument here. And this is especially important considering the biggest update we had in this case on our previous sidebar, how could we forget this, that there was official court paperwork that was filed seemingly confirming there is an active criminal investigation case against David for murder. Remember, actually, it was Steve who was the one who posted this information, and then we got our hands on the court paperwork. But Steve posted, in a petition for attendance to compel David's family members to appear before a grand jury, it's disclosed that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's head and torso were found in a cadaver bag, her severed arms and legs in a second bag. David Burke is the target of the grand jury for one count of murder. And when you read from the screenshots, and again, we have the filings from this, it said the people of the state of California v. David Burke, Nathan Hochman at the top, he's the Los Angeles County District Attorney, Beth Silverman too, who we believe is the attorney prosecuting this case.
They're pimple covers? Bro, in that case, I'd have like 100 stars on my face at some points, bro. Fuck out of your pimple covers. Be a man. Stop being a little bitch, right?
Confirming again, this is a real case. They're the prosecutors. There was even video or pictures of her coming in and out of court. It goes on to say that there is now pending in the Superior Court of the County of Los Angeles the above entitled grand jury investigation by the state of California against target David Burke. David, you know, that's his real name, David, wherein target may be involved in having committed the following criminal offenses against the laws of the state of California, to wit, one count of murder. And when I looked up the penal code that was allegedly broken here, murder is the unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus with malice aforethought, basically an intentional killing. The filing goes on to say, on September 8th, 2025, at approximately 10:30 hours, Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD detectives received a phone call from the manager of Hollywood Area Official Police Garage. The manager stated a black Tesla Model X had been impounded as an abandoned vehicle by the Department of Transportation on September 5th, 2025. The manager told police there was a strong smell of decay coming from the vehicle, which was attracting flies. LAPD detectives responded to the Hollywood tow yard to investigate. Detectives approached the vehicle, which was parked on the upper deck.
That's crazy, Two Worlds. Yeah, I don't get how men do that.
Impound lot, and immediately noticed the smell of decaying biological material consistent with a decomposing corpse coming from the front storage compartment of the vehicle. Detectives obtained a search warrant for the vehicle, and when the front storage compartment was opened, detectives observed a black cadaver bag covered with insects and a strong odor of decay. Utilizing black latex gloves, detectives partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed...
The fact it was in a cadaver bag is even wilder.
And torso. Investigators and criminalists from the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner responded to the tow yard to process the decomposed body. Upon removing the cadaver bag from the front storage compartment, it was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath the cadaver bag. Upon opening the second bag, the dismembered body parts were discovered.
My whole thing is like, why would you dismember the body, put it in a cadaver bag, and go through all that work cutting her up just to put it in your trunk to be found? Like, how could you not find a place to go bring it, right? Like, what? It's so weird. You know what I mean? How could you sit there and like go buy a cadaver bag, chop this poor young girl up, and then not even hide the body in a fucking forest or something? You put it in your car. This is California mindset right here, guys.
Were advised that on August 26, 2025, a citizen reported the above-mentioned Tesla as an abandoned vehicle parked across from on August 27, 2025, Department...
I didn't even notice he was behind me, you guys. That's funny. He's just vibing. He just jumps up there sometimes and he just vibes, I guess.
Transportation officers responded to and marked the vehicle. On September 3rd, 2025, Department of Transportation returned to the vehicle and issued a citation. On September 5th, 2025, Department of Transportation impounded the vehicle to Hollywood Area Tow. It was noted the Tesla was registered to target David Anthony Burke in Hempstead, Texas. David, who is a singer and performing artist, was on tour at the time his vehicle was impounded. And Steve Fisher, in an X post at the time, talked about his frustrations, talked about Neo. Quote, Celeste Rivas Hernandez deserves better. It's infuriating that we're approaching 6 months and no charges have been filed in her murder. If the evidence hasn't been secured by now, what exactly is happening? Is this a blown investigation? We now know these monsters sawed off Celeste's arms and legs. Let's not call it dismemberment. That word sounds clinical, like a surgeon removed her limbs. This is not what happened. A vicious, sick group of people brutally hacked her arms and legs.
See, no, Stacy, the thing is they went... I can't remember the specific place that they parked the Tesla, but it was impounded, right? And it sat in an impound lot while he was on tour. I guarantee you their defense is going to be like he was on tour. You know what I mean? He didn't know. How could he possibly know? He was on tour for so many months, right?
her body. Was she alive when they started? And yes, I am using plural terms because in my professional opinion, there is no way one person did this alone, whether participating directly or acting as an accessory. Yet only one individual is named as a target in the court filings. Like you, Neo Christopher Langston, you knew. I've seen family members publicly defend him and threaten lawsuits against anyone who names him. Sue me. I beg you, please sue me. Give me subpoena power. Give me the power of discovery, because that may be the only way the truth comes out. Discovery is the exchange of information in any lawsuit. And sometimes that can be why people don't file a lawsuit, because they don't want information being seen or shared. I beg if you file that defamation suit, how do people like David, Neo, and Asia live with themselves? 6 months, no charges, no press conference. But LAPD and the district attorney's office did issue a press release stating they had the medical examiner's autopsy and investigative findings sealed so detectives could review them first, claiming it was not meant to undermine transparency. They got that information, yet the records remain sealed. That press release misled the public. That press release was a lie. Another press release suggested the only potential criminal culpability might be concealment of a body. He's referring to earlier statements by the LAPD. They said that knowing Celeste's arms and legs had been sawed off. You came out with that press release knowing what had been done to her? If they do not have enough evidence to charge those responsible, then they need to say that plainly. Admit that after nearly 6 months, the investigation has not produced.
All right, so I guess we get the video. Let's get into some of this other stuff. I wonder who that guy was that was talking about. He was like an expert in being like a what are those people called in the moratorium or whatever, coroner who cut them up. Is it this one? Let's see.
Before I get into the description of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children, and a parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back.
That's how the Los Angeles County District Attorney opened a press conference announcing the arrest.
Hold on, guys, 1 second, because I want to see where that video is quick, because he gives very good insight on stuff. So give me uno momento, por favores, okay? And señoritas. Is that what Spanish is? Not really, no. So, all right, let's go back in my history here and look. I watch so much darn stuff, it's gonna be hard to find. Wait, is it these ones? Let's see. Because I just wanted to see if this guy uploaded anything more here. He's really informational. Was it right here? I don't know who the guy is, though. Because this is the one we were watching last stream that the guy was on. So we can finish this one. I'm going to try and find his name while we're on here, guys. Because he's very informational. And for anyone that's following the case like me, it's nice to watch. Okay, wait, it says Joseph Scott Morgan. That's probably who it is. Let's subscribe, because we're going to go to him next. I'll subscribe to her too. Show her some love. All right.
That was in the of this. So lying in wait really
I'll be right back.
does show that premeditation, but it doesn't tell us yet where the crime scene necessarily is. And we know where her body was found, but not necessarily where she died.
Yeah, and what does lying in wait mean? You know, was this individual lying in wait at that residence? Were they behind a door?
So
were they in the garage? Were they in the car? I have no idea, but the police apparently do. And that's the key here. They've begun to put all of this together, and suddenly those things that were, kind of foggy, from our perspective as the public, we've got a little bit more clarity now moving forward. We know that they've been working behind the scenes, and they've put together something, because they would not use terms like that, like lying in wait, and also what the motivation could potentially be. And that's long-term, financial gain. Is she going to go into this environment and bespoil that opportunity for the accused? And apparently they've drawn that conclusion at this point.
Well, that she would have possibly, what the prosecutors were talking about was that this was somehow going to stymie his career. Also, during the press conference that we heard, and this is, I think, going to be incredibly important, is the recovered digital and forensic evidence, which could be, and they talked about how the smoking gun is really the totality of the evidence that they've discovered in this case.
Yeah, one of the fascinating electronic evidence elements to this is going to be that car.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'm sure that there have been. Okay. However, in a case this high profile, we actually have a Tesla that's involved in this, and these things track you, right? Everywhere you go, there's cameras on this thing. We don't know what they have, okay, as far as comings and goings go, all right? And that's going to be an interesting piece. And also, if that car was used, you know, we've heard about this late night trip that took place at some point in time to Santa Barbara County, I think, and then coming back. Well, if you marry the data from the Tesla with his phone or Celeste's phone, and they're traveling in tandem, you know, moving back and forth and that sort of thing, that kind of digs the hole deeper and deeper, at least from a digital forensic standpoint. You couple that, obviously, when she was last seen, was her phone functioning after that point in time? Did they do geofencing around that area? If her phone ceased to operate after that last day when she was known alive, that's going to be very, very important here. And then also their activities online. You know, there's certain, you know, we've got this streaming element. You know, I think Twitch has mentioned a couple other things, and there's those, you know, you can see there are those images that I've seen, you know, where she's, you know, attempting to hide her face. What was the reason?
All right, in 15 minutes, guys, I gotta bring my mom to work. I don't know if I'll let it play, but I'll put like the starting screen on, just hop off, come back. It's literally down the street, so. But I just want to warn you guys. Then we'll go into this guy, but I really want to get into Trump and Iran too, so it's gonna be a long stream.
Behind that, how long had she actually occupied the space? Because yeah, we do have a ghastly homicide here, but we've also got a young girl that is involved with someone that's much, much older, and he's potentially involved in an inappropriate relationship. That's kind of the seed, you know, that this thing springs from, I think. And that's another, you know, very, very disturbing element to this case.
It is. I mean, the ages that we're dealing with here it's every, I've said it before in other cases, but this one couldn't be more true, that it's just literally every parent's worst nightmare that your daughter walks out of the house one night, your seventh grader walks out of the house and never comes back.
Yep.
And now we're, you know, because of your experience in seeing these bodies, there's questions I have right now. There's, you know, about how they were able to recover her body out of that trunk with the head and torso in one. If you could just help our viewers understand, you know, how decomposed these body parts really were, like what we really think we were dealing with when they pulled these body parts out.
I'll put it to you this way. There would have been some skeletonization, some at least, going on at this point because soft tissue would have begun to have rendered down. You will have this in the bottom of the container, for instance.
Yeah, no, I like listening to this guy, guys. He's very informational. And not only that, but he breaks it down. Like, he was talking about how long you can know the body was there and decomposed through, like, fly generations, like how they lay the eggs. Then they like go through generations of certain maggots and stuff like that, so they can track how long that she's been decomposing, at least from that standpoint. So yeah, he's very smart. I learned a lot from this guy, and I like watching this stuff because then when I talk to you guys, I can at least be informative.
So we use the term cadaver
don't mind
bag.
me, I'm making a homemade Doritos Loco Taco, okay, guys? Chill out, all right? At least I'm not eating fucking Cheez-Its, right?
Earlier.
It's almost just as bad, but there's some beef in there, so we're good, and lettuce.
You would have liquefied remnant that were down there. And I know that's horribly ghastly, all right, but that's the reality of the world, you know, that people like myself work in, okay? One of the things that is going to be encouraging, I think, as far as physical evidence goes, is that since there is a dismemberment, if they can find a tool that is similar or that matches the tool marks on these areas where her body was dismembered, those points of dissection or prosection, you can marry up that specific instrument with those markings that are on the bone. Now, the trouble is, are they going to be able to put that instrument into the hand of an accused person or potential perpetrator? That's where good old-fashioned police shoe leather comes in. We can give you this data from a scientific standpoint, but what are the police going to do with it? And at this point, it sounds like they've been working the case.
Well, and, you know, as far as finding evidence on, like, you've got now two cadaver bags that were in that trunk. One had the head and torso, the other had the arms and legs. They were able to actually identify Celeste, right, with this little tattoo that was on her finger that said shh. And, you know, we've heard a lot, like in the Gilgo Beach serial killer case, where
ever since I brought it up, it is just so weird to me how he went through the process of chopping this girl up, putting her in these bags, and just leaving them in a trunk and letting it get impounded. Something to me feels weird. Like there's something going on here. I don't know. It's weird because why would you go through all that and then not go through the process of hiding it more? You know what I mean? It's just kind of weird to me.
Tattoos removed,
Yep.
for different purposes, to try and so that you don't know who the victim was based on tattoos and that sort of thing. But this was a case where we knew it was Celeste pretty soon afterwards.
Yeah, and the tattoo will be significant merely for the purpose of identification. Of course, there would still be enough viable, useful cellular data to do a DNA match here. It's not going to be degraded, I don't think, to the point where you couldn't run a DNA profile, come up with a DNA profile on the remains, and then do a comparative analysis with her biological parents. That's kind of easy to do nowadays, I think. It's horrible, but yet it's still easy to do. So, all of that, coupled with what they have remaining of her remains, is creating a very, very grim picture. And to what lengths did he go, to try, because we're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a charge in there about abuse of human corpse as well.
Right. A mutilation of a human body. Yep.
Yeah. And that, that charge varies from state to state. It's just called something else in a variety of different states.
Mm-hmm.
Many times it's just a misdemeanor charge, but it's demonstrative of what a particular assailant, what lengths that particular assailant would go to. And it goes to kind of a hardness of heart, doesn't it? Nice. And it's not just the mere fact that she's young. It's not just the mere fact that she's been murdered. It's also, look what was done with her remains afterwards. And you talk about it, it gets dark really, really quick.
When you look at like the tattoo on her finger, I guess the question was like, if her body's decomposing, you're in this sort of record-setting heat in August that this body has potentially been there. Would there be what you talk about with the skin slippage with that? Can you look at how long the body has been decomposing based on the fact of being able to identify that tattoo even?
Not necessarily. What happens with, and just so folks understand, when decomposition happens, we have a stage that bodies go through. It's called desiccation, and desiccation just simply means drying out, or it's dehydrating of tissues. All right, so this desiccation begins on the periphery. So if you think about the toes, the top of the head, and also the fingers, these areas are absent hydration for a period of time, and those areas mummify very, very quickly.
Okay.
Well,
And
probably because there's like no fat or muscle under it. Like the top of your head is just basically skin, and that's probably why.
you'll have this drying that takes place, and it is not very difficult for us in the morgue. One of the things that we do is a rehydration of the skin through injections, and you can't bring it to absolute life, but you can say kind of expand the area through rehydration, and you can begin to pick up on certain details, and we will in fact dissect that area out and have it. Okay, and treat it special and take photographs of it, and we can come back with details. I've worked on cases where we've had tattoos on decomposing remains, and we have compared said tattoo that we have to antemortem, which are pre-death photos of the individual in life, and you can compare the two things, and it'll put you in the ballpark relative to a positive ID.
Well, and also with, as far as the decomposition of the body, is there anything from that physical side that they really need to be looking at as far as Celeste's body?
Yeah, there's a couple of elements here. First off, was she protected the entire time? That is, if her body was, and I call it cocooning, if her body was cocooned and then placed in a protected environment where you do not have, say, scavengers that are going to come along, and that's not going to influence the status of the body. And also, you're going to look at the rise and fall of temps. Now, and what you had mentioned was that we had record-setting heat, or they did, in LA back in August, remember? And so, I mean, it was scorching. I had friends that were out there, they talked about how insufferably hot it was, even by LA standards in the summertime.
Yeah, I remember I bet on it on Kelshi, but I lost the bet because they can scam you, I swear, allegedly.
And you have that peak that goes up. So what we know about decomposition is this: heat always speeds things up, all right? So the higher the level of heat, all right, the quicker remains will begin to break down. So if you've got kind of a cooler period leading up to this peak, you can actually have an accelerated decomposition at this point. The one saving grace that they don't have, and that they're absent in the environment in LA, say, as opposed to where I live in the Deep South, they don't have a lot of humidity, and humidity is also a contributing factor too. So you might have remains that are a bit more preserved out there in that environment, even though they're subjected to high heat. There's lower humidity. In the South, you have high humidity, high heat, and you will really have a breakdown in tissue. So that might be the one saving grace. However, back to your question, is it possible to kind of plot this out?
Sure.
Once you start to get out beyond about that 8-week window, it's very, very difficult to kind of narrow your timeline. It's almost like starting like a beam of light starts in one point, one central location, but as it goes downrange, it spreads out further and further. It's harder to kind of narrow that beam down, right? And so the further out in time, the more difficult it is to tie it back to a specific point in time.
So it's going to be tough.
It will be tough, yes.
Well, and I think that, you know, if I put on my defense attorney's hat, because of course David's defense attorney is saying we're going to prove that, you know, that none of this evidence is going to point to David. Like this, he is not guilty. You know, that's what we've heard so far. We don't know if anything else is happening behind the scenes right now.
Right.
But that's what we're hearing right now. And, you know, one thing that I keep on thinking about is there some way for the defense attorney to turn this as this was an accident? She took too many drugs. Something happened. She overdosed. She fell downstairs. Something else happened. And then David didn't know what to do and he panicked because, you know, I feel like I'm reliving like the Brian Walsh trial out of Massachusetts with his wife, you know, and then I didn't know what to do. So I just cut her up, you know, that kind of thing. It was unbelievable way of handling it. Right. Do you think?
Because you guys have to understand, like when you cut somebody, like imagine cutting somebody up, bro. Imagine taking them and dismembering them and going through all that, and you know this person, you've been intimate with this person, and you're cutting this motherfucker's head off, dude. Like that is just so baffling to me.
Toxicology reports, anything could be to rule those kind of scenarios out. Is that one of the things they've been looking at?
Yeah, I'm sure it has been. And could they get tox? You know, from her torso, again, very graphic here, but we probably would not be able to get, or they would probably not be able to get useful blood. You're going to have to use things like solid organs, brain, liver, and we spin those down and liquefy them. Now you can, when we draw that up and we run tox on there, you can get qualitative results, which means, yeah, this type of drug was in the system, whether it's Coke or meth or whatever the drug of choice is. All right. But you're not going to be able to get quantitative amounts, which gives us a level of lethality. Say if you have X amount of cocaine on board or X amount of meth on board that's incompatible with life, you will in fact die. All right, so that's not going to be a possibility. If there are maggots present, we actually use those many times. We will spin those down. If, of course, she would have gone through several generations of flies probably at this point in time. It's one of the things we look for with maggot. You can take those, spin those down. We can get a qualitative amount. Sometimes that'll be contained within the remains of the maggots themselves. Can't get a quantitative amount. So if they're going to go down that road, and I'm just thinking about what the defense would do here, they can say they can use that scenario, and that's actually been put forward. You know, I think several months back that maybe she OD'd. All right, maybe she OD'd and he panicked. There was also somebody else that said, "Hey, maybe she was pregnant." And there was panic that set in, and that was stated as well. So you're going to have forensic pathologists, and you're going to have forensic.
But it's been shown that she was not pregnant, so that is out the window.
Toxicologists come in and talk about this, and you say, well, why would the toxicologist talk about it if there's nothing there?
Okay, I'll put it on. All right, guys, I gotta run around to work quick. I will just let something play quick. Let's get into the Trump-Iran thing. It won't take me long. I'll be like literally 2 minutes. But let's get into the Trump and Iran thing. Oh, it'll be literally like 5 minutes. Mother, you just simmer down over there, all right? I'm a quick driver over here. Here, let's actually do this while I go. What the fuck, dude? She didn't see her as a human. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. He's evil, bro. That's all I gotta say. He's an evil guy, allegedly. I don't want to get sued, but yeah.
And the power of public opinion in more democratically oriented nations,
guys,
such
I will
as
be
the
right
United
back.
States,
Literally
and the
2
power
minutes.
that plays in this war.
Count
And
the
so
time.
That's
I
the
bet
front
I'll be
they're
5.
engaging in
All right,
with
give me 2
those
seconds.
videos.
In Lebanon, the ceasefire brokered by the United States has simply not held. Israel has ended its bombardment of Beirut, but has kept up its attacks on southern Lebanon, claiming to target Hezbollah fighters. But those attacks have also killed civilians and, this past week, a journalist. Meenakshi Ravi has been on this story.
The killing of Amal Khalil in the southern Lebanese town of Attiri unfolded the way so many Israeli assassinations of journalists in Gaza have, minute by minute, hour by hour, in a pattern that has become shockingly familiar. The surveillance, the strike, the obstruction of rescue, and then the denial, Israel's insistence that it does target journalists, medics, or rescue workers. Khalil, a well-known reporter for the Lebanese newspaper Al Akhbar, said in interviews before that she has repeatedly received threats from the Israeli army and intelligence.
تلقيت استهداف مباشر على هاتفي من الموساد من الإسرائيلية وهددوني بالقتل وكان يعني حرفيا عم بيقول إنه سنفصل رأسك عن كتفيك.
This past week, Khalil was dispatched to Atiri to report on airstrikes there when a car in front of her was hit by an Israeli drone. She and her photojournalist Zainab Faraj took shelter in a nearby house and immediately contacted her editors and family to say they were trapped. Lebanon's president issued a statement calling on the Red Cross to reach them. Soon after, though, the Israelis bombed the house where the journalists had taken refuge. What followed were repeated Israeli strikes on the Red Cross crews sent to find them. Under continuous fire, emergency workers managed to evacuate Zainab Faraj, but the danger forced them to leave Amal Khalil behind. She was declared dead hours later when rescue workers were finally able to return. Khalil is one of at least 14 Lebanese journalists killed by Israel since October 2023, in addition to the more than 250 Palestinian journalists killed across Gaza and the West Bank in the same period. Last month, Israel admitted to deliberately targeting and killing 3 Lebanese journalists. Its justification was that one of them, Ali Shoaib, was a Hezbollah terrorist posing as a reporter. No evidence was provided. Israel was subsequently caught using an AI-generated image of Shoaib in a Hezbollah uniform in an attempt to discredit him posthumously. For journalists doing their work in countries under Israeli attack, the danger is not only being caught in the crossfire, but being placed in Israel's crosshairs.
Thanks, Mila. Over the years, Pakistan's political and military establishments have been difficult for any journalist there to defend. Its army chief, Asim Munir, was deeply unpopular. Its government, which was narrowly returned to power after a bitterly contested election, was widely seen as illegitimate. And its most popular politician, Imran Khan, has been held in the notorious high-security Adiala jail, where he remains. But today, Pakistan's diplomats are at the center of one of the world's most consequential stories. They are hosting talks between the U.S. and Iran, brokering ceasefires, earning the very public praise of Donald Trump, and making headlines around the world. There is some self-interest at play here due to Pakistan's reliance on oil from the Middle East and, therefore, the state of the Strait of Hormuz. But this is a PR moment that the Pakistani establishment and its people could not have predicted, and one that's obscuring a great deal. To help us make sense of how this story is being told inside Pakistan and what's being left out, we're joined now from Karachi by Amber Rahim Shamsi. She is the editor at a digital news platform called Nukta. Ms. Shamsi, from where you're sitting in Karachi, how big a story is Pakistan's mediation role between the U.S. and Iran domestically? How much is the Pakistani public tracking it? And what's the mood at home over it?
Thank you for having me. This current conflict and hopefully its resolution is really purely simply in terms of petrol prices. The government has been adjusting them on a weekly basis. They've gone high, inflation has risen. But at the same time, I think that there's also hope that if Pakistan is able to successfully mediate a long-term ceasefire or deal or agreement of some kind, it would hopefully potentially also lead to an improvement in people's lives. So I think it is a combination of where you see that there's a pride that I see in people, that Pakistan has become so prominent on the global stage as well. It's being talked about in very positive terms. But obviously, at the same time, there is that hope that this would lead to an improvement in people's lives. If this doesn't lead to that, then I'm afraid all the gains that Pakistan has made, not just internationally, but I would say that the current regime that has the gains that it's made with people, you would fritter that away.
The last time that the Pakistani media had such a significant moment in terms of PR was last year, middle of last year, during that confrontation with India. Pakistan held its own. Now its army chief, Asim Munir, is at the center of these talks. Talk to us about his role, how it's being framed, and what does it mean politically, given that he leads the army, not the civilian government?
Yes, Field Marshal Asim Munir does indeed lead the army, and he became Field Marshal after the May conflict between India and Pakistan. The current regime, which is headed by a civilian government, but is obviously, I would say, the supreme power or the most powerful figure in Pakistan has traditionally been the army chief. We have a civilian government as a facade, but we do have a strong army chief who is front and center in terms of whether it's foreign policy, whether it's in terms of governance, or even economic policy. What the May conflict between Pakistan and India did, and Pakistan successfully rebranded itself, the army chief successfully rebranded itself, and we entered a new phase in Pakistan's, I would say, domestic politics, but also its international image.
So here we have Pakistan positioning itself as an international peacemaker. Meanwhile, it's fighting a war with Afghanistan that barely registers on Pakistani primetime television. Like last month, Pakistani jets hit an addiction rehabilitation facility in Kabul. At least 143 people killed. How is that airstrike and the broader conflict being covered or not covered in the Pakistani mainstream news media?
It isn't being covered in the mainstream. The only news that we get are from security agencies and security sources.
अफगान तालिबान का काबुल में ड्रग अस्पताल पर हमले का प्रोपेगेंडा बेनकाब हो गया। वजारत इत्तलाआत ने ज़बीउल्लाह मुजाहिद का बयान हक़ाइक़ के मुनाफी करार दे दिया।
Nobody is really talking to reporters who are trying to dig a little deeper. So I'd say that the situation with Afghanistan is just not being discussed. I think the mood in Pakistan as well is a little bit of fatigue in terms of Afghanistan. We've also had lots of deportations of Afghan refugees or immigrants. That's been continuing for the last 2-3 years. So really a very hardline policy towards Afghanistan, very, very careful. And I think the Pakistani public as well, I see that while there's very little sympathy as well. You see that more along the border areas where there's direct trade between Afghans and Pakistanis, where there's a lot of sympathy. There's obviously a lot of ethnic, obviously affinity as well. But broadly in the rest of Pakistan, I might say that the Pakistani public as well has really...
Oh, man, I'm sorry, guys. I literally ran. There was a funeral procession going on, so I had to pull over and pay my respects. There was a little convoy going, but did anyone time me? Anyone time me? That was quick, right? Told you it was right down the street. Got my taco meat, got a taco shell and some stuff to make a taco, so I don't have to leave you again. We're straight, homie. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this shiz.
Moved on and would like would like the Afghanistan matter as well to be settled.
Meanwhile, the former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been in jail for 2.5 years now. By many measures, he remains Pakistan's most popular politician. His family says it is concerned about his health. The coverage of him has been suppressed by the authorities there. Does a story like this one, Pakistan as peacemaker, reduce the prominence that Imran Khan is getting even further?
Absolutely, Richard. I do.
9 minutes? Man, for real? It felt faster than that, man. I'm sorry, guys. I said 2. But hey, man, 9 minutes ain't bad. That's the nice thing about living in a small town is, hey, man, I'm zooming, bro. And God, I gotta take a short and I gotta or go live and show you guys my Suburban, bro. I love my Suburban, dude. It is so sexy. I think I got the nicest one in town. I think every guy thinks that though about his vehicle, right? But anyways, my bad, bro. I got the munchies and my mom had to get off. I know it's like wanting to take a break off work, you know what I'm saying? They want to come home, so had to do it, you know? Feel what I'm saying, guys? Thank you for timing me, though. Holding me accountable, Stacy. I love you guys, man. I shouldn't have smoked before this because now I'm all crazy. But my kids had to go on a visit with their mom and I'm stressed because yeah, never mind. Not going to talk about it, but let's go. Much love, Stacy. Appreciate you. We'll move on from Al Jazeera too, where I want to get into the new news. So let's get into it.
For more, let's bring in Texas Congressman Michael McCall. A lot has happened in the last hour or so here. The president telling me he's canceling this trip. He's not sending his people all the way over to Pakistan. If they're not going to come back with anything, if the Iranians aren't serious, they can just call him over the phone. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think the president didn't receive a serious proposal. It didn't deal with giving up enriched uranium. And I think wisely saying,
what streamer you know make tacos on stream, man? Come on, bro. I'm the ultimate smoker, bro. Got munchies up the ass. I still got half my J to smoke. I'm over here making a Doritos Loco Taco while I'm streaming with the family. Let's go, man. Hope you're smoking on some good, Stacy.
I'm not going to waste my time with this if you're not going to negotiate in good faith. Now, I've been a critic of the Iranian regime for years, really since 1979. I don't think they're negotiating in good faith. It's dilatory tactics. They're going to try to drag this out, and they're never going to give up their nuclear capabilities at the end of the day. The president is the first president to have the courage. All presidents before him, after 1979, have said, we will not allow a nuclear Iran. But this president has stepped into Iran in a very courageous way to stop it. So I applaud him for that. And I think he's doing the right thing on this as well.
You know, I think you can't say this White House hasn't tried diplomacy, right? They've tried. We've seen these summits before. I mean, it's not new. And so canceling this one, I mean, it tells you a lot about where we are in terms of with the Iranians. Why can't the Europeans see it that way? I mean, they're always pushing for diplomacy, talk. That's not resulting in anything. Why can't they just get on board now?
Well, especially since 50% of their energy comes out of the Strait of Hormuz, right? So they import 50%. It's in their best interest. I think it's a grudge match against President Trump. But look, it's in their best interest as well. It's right in their backyard. And so they absolutely should join with us and put pressure on Iran. But, the bottom line, Aisha, is what I think, as long as this regime is in power, you're never going to broker a deal that is.
I don't want you guys seeing me eat LMAO.
Quest for
I
a
just said
bomb.
LMAO. Oh my God.
And
I'm
as
so
long as that
stupid.
regime's in power, and if they get the bomb, they will certainly use it.
What do you make of this grand tour that the Iranian foreign minister is now embarking on? He just left Pakistan, I believe, going to Oman, Russia. What is that about, and how does it play into what do we do? We've got this potential still on the books. POTUS trip to China. And we know there's questions about whether the Chinese are helping Iran.
Well, I think he's using this notoriety, this fame that he has right now to exploit the situation, win over friends and allies in the Middle East and maybe in Europe as well.
Well, they lost all their allies in the Middle East.
Right, and they basically bombed all their friends in the Middle East. So why would they want to come over and be on the side of Iran? I think hopefully everybody sees through that. I think the president's détente, if you will, meeting with China, my advice to him would be, as a condition, a precondition of that meeting, he should ask China to stop equipping Iran with the technology and semiconductor chips that fund and back Iran against our targets.
Yeah, everyone's also focused on the Taiwan Strait. That's important too because we want to know what the Chinese are thinking about that. I want to pull up a Fox News poll. We just got these released this week, and it shows where the current mood is in the country on military action against Iran. Right now, 45% of Americans support military action. That is up, actually, from 42% in March. 55% oppose it, and that is down. In the meantime, though, in the long run, people believe that now 36% believe that the U.S. is safer. That these military action, these strikes will make us safer. That is up from March when it was 33%. What do you make of the way the president is handling this? We had been given some timelines, 5-6 weeks. And now we've gone beyond that, and you've got midterms around the corner. And I know there are Republicans. I talked to them privately.
Yeah, it's gonna be guys. It's gonna be very interesting to see where all this goes and how it works. We know the BRICS alliance is there. Him going to China would be very interesting to see how it goes. But with him going to Pakistan or whatever people going to Pakistan, I mean, I just don't see this stopping. Like I said, there's going to be continuous diversity in Iran from the IRGC and the different groups and companies there are. No matter if they get half of Iran to agree, the other half won't. It's always going to be an internal conflict. And it's just going to be very, very interesting to see where this goes, because to me, when Trump says, well, we're coming to a talk, we got this, I just think he's talking out of his ass, to be honest with you. Like, even he knows it's not true. You ain't coming to any talks. You might be talking with some of Iran, but there's still going to be a bunch of Iran that doesn't agree with you, right?
When they go back home and people are hurting when they go to the gas station or whatever it is, they want Republicans to talk about that.
Well, that is true. But I do think Americans do feel safer. We've destroyed their military-industrial complex. We've basically destroyed their nuclear facilities. They still have the enriched uranium, but they do feel safer. I do think most Americans want this to end. They don't want to see us get bogged down in another conflict in the Middle East. But it's very tricky in Iran because as long as the regime is in power, they're going to continue to be a problem. The issue with the president is, when can he claim victory and how can he claim victory and get out and say, we've annihilated their nuclear facilities, we've reopened the Straits of Hormuz. Iran has found a way to play mischief with the world. They've held the entire world hostage over the Straits of Hormuz and our energy supply.
I want to get your thought on this before I let you go. I know how you feel about Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin is now saying that he could potentially come to Miami for the G20. They just put out a statement. Let's put it up on the screen. They write, President Putin may go to Miami as a member of the G20, or he may not go, or another Russian representative may go. But the fact that they're saying that he might make his way to U.S. soil, you think it's going to happen? You think it's a smart idea?
Well, I always say it's a good idea for heads of state to sit down and talk.
So, you know, it was always a thing like, oh, well, Trump had tied to Russia. And Trump's always said him and Putin have a very good relationship. You know what I see it being? I see it being like a PR campaign. Like, Putin does come here. You're going to see him at the White House. You're going to see him and Trump together in Miami. Mark my words now. I swear to God, it's going to happen. Come on now. Quit
Be serious about a deal with Ukraine. He has to be serious about a security agreement that is ironclad, that if we reach that agreement, he vows to never invade Ukraine again. Unlike, you know, the agreement they have where Ukraine gave up all of its nuclear weapons and then Russia invaded Ukraine. We can't have that again.
Congressman Michael McCall, always great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Great insight. Thank you so much.
Agreed, Stacey. Now definitely would be the time. Come on. There we go.
But we're going to begin with the war with Iran and the peace talks in Pakistan. President Trump now canceling the planned trip to Pakistan for Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner after Iranian's foreign minister left Islamabad following a meeting with Pakistani mediators. The minister later saying Tehran is, quote, yet to see if the U.S. is truly serious about diplomacy. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore has the latest for us from Islamabad on what happens next in potential peace talks. Hey, Marcus.
But hey there, Ike. Obviously, this is a significant development. President Trump saying that he has canceled the U.S. delegation's trip here to Islamabad. And his announcement followed word that Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, left Pakistan after meeting with senior officials here. The foreign minister today meeting with the chief of Pakistan's army and the prime minister before departing Islamabad. And we're told that the Iranians left a proposal for the next steps in the peace talks for the war in Iran. And we understand that those points were to be presented to U.S. officials either here in Pakistan or in some other manner. The early thought was that if there's agreement, there could then be another meeting like the one we saw 2 weeks ago here in Islamabad. But right now it seems like anything imminent is off the table for the moment. And the foreign minister actually posting a message on X where he said that they presented the Iranian position in the midst of these negotiations, these back-channel talks that have been going on in the effort to secure peace. And he said that he has yet to see if the Americans are, quote,
anyone that's new to the stream, man, make sure you guys say what's up. Make sure you like the stream. Try and get me into the algorithm, man. I'm sorry I had to go for a minute, but hey, man, I got my stuff I got to do. But we're on the grind, man. So show some love and support. We are live on a Saturday afternoon. Let's get it.
About diplomacy. There's a lot at stake here, not only the risk of reigniting the warfare that we've seen unfold, but also the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz. And Americans have felt the effects at the fuel pump, and others around the world concerned about the impact to the global supply chain. Both countries imposing blockades on that waterway and vowing to continue until there's an agreement on a peace deal in Iran. Ike.
Oh, Trump and King Charles?
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. It is Saturday, April 25th. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'll be here for the next little bit as we break down all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. And I want to get right back into those headlines because a big visit coming in just a matter of days. King Charles III and Queen Camilla will arrive in the U.S. We are going to have all kinds of live coverage throughout the week. And of course, a big event that'll take place. King Charles expected to deliver an address to Congress. That is going to happen on Tuesday, and we're going to bring that to you live, uninterrupted, in full, commercial-free, like we always do. But there are a lot of questions about the significance of the trip overall, what it says, what we can expect. I do want to bring in Richard Fitzwilliams, royal commentator, here to discuss all of it. Richard, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on this Saturday.
No, pleasure. It certainly, as a visit, was a state visit. It's going to be anthropologically fascinating and unlike any other, I suspect, certainly unlike the 4 state visits which Queen Elizabeth paid to the United States.
And I wanted to ask you, kind of starting off, what are you going to be watching for as the visit takes place? Again, we have that address to Congress on Tuesday, but there's a lot more to it.
Oh, yes, but the set pieces, the state dinner at the White House, the address to Congress, the commemoration of 25 years since 9/11, reception honoring the King's Trust, and so forth.
Dude, this guy talks so slow. Reception honoring the King's Trust, and bro, I have it on speed 125. I can't imagine what it would be. Oh, it's on normal. Oh my god, bro, he is. He's talking slow, homie.
These are events that, rather like the welcome, which will undoubtedly be spectacular. Donald Trump is certainly a president who likes spectacle and show.
Yeah, I had to speed up, make him sound like he's talking normal.
Likes the British monarchy, which is our trump card, because this is, as you know, a period which is extremely difficult in Anglo-American relations. The so-called special relationship has, in recent months, certainly in recent weeks, day by day, it seems to have been eroded. And the hope is that this visit will put things back more on an even keel.
And right now, of course, you can see that we are going to have that live coverage all week. A lot of different events that are planned as all of this kind of gets underway here. I wanted to ask you here what the relationship is like right now between the U.S. and the monarchy. When you talk about King Charles III, you talk about Camilla. We know that Queen Elizabeth passed away several years ago. So have we seen anything kind of change there over, I would say, the last several years?
Well, firstly, I think the United States and Britain, I mean, there's a relationship which is certainly unusual. And as you commemorate 250 years of independence, this is a unique year. Obviously, Queen Elizabeth was greatly admired in the United States, as of course was Princess Diana, very specially. There's certain memories, I think, that she would evoke in so many Americans.
I know,
but
it's so crazy
King
how slow he
Charles
talks.
came to the throne, I think that firstly, he would be admired for his battle, happily, it appears successfully, against cancer, as the longest-serving Prince of Wales in our history. He's made a...
I can't keep listening to him. I'm sorry. He sounds like he took Dayquil and NyQuil at the same time. All right.
Joining us now on the phone is the Hill's White House correspondent, Julia Manchester, who is going to be in attendance tonight. Julia, what are you hearing, and what do you think prompted the president to attend this year finally?
Hey, Alicia. Yeah, the president has not attended since, I believe, 2016 when he was running for president, or I think it might have been 2015. So he hasn't attended as commander in chief. But look, I think you've seen, even though the relationship between President Trump and the press may appear to be adversarial and maybe adversarial to some degree, there is work from the White House Correspondents Association to reach out to the administration and build a relationship with the administration.
Anyone know what's been going on since Melania Trump came out and said, or Melania Trump came out and said all that stuff without Trump's knowledge? Like, is that just like forgotten about now? Like, I don't think I've heard anything else in the news talking about that. We're gonna update a little bit more on this, and then we're gonna move into some like body cams or something. I had a video that I want you to watch that I seen this morning that is just so despicable.
As you know, many journalists do with their sources in politics and outside politics as well. So I think, you know, this is an opportunity for Trump to bring awareness to the dinner, obviously. You know, it's known as sort of Washington's nerd prom, but remember, there's a lot of scholarship money for journalism students that gets handed out at this dinner, and this is about fundraising. So from the WHCA's perspective, that's a big deal. For President Trump, though, look, he gets to make headlines. He gets to really, in many ways, put himself out on a very large stage and make news, and he gets a chance to roast the news media, which he likes to do regardless. We've seen other presidents in the past do this as well. This is a roast at the end of the day, but the big question is, how pointed will President Trump's jokes be?
Yeah, and speaking of what he may say here, the president's daughter-in-law recently let us in on how the president is preparing for his speech. Take a listen.
I think everyone should get...
I'm so sorry, but allegedly...
Us in on how the president is preparing for his speech. Take a listen.
Dude, Michelle Obama, or Michael Obama, I should say, forgot to put her freaking bra fillers in, huh? Or his. Allegedly.
I think everyone should get ready because he's going to do some roasting, and we know that he doesn't hold anything back. He's got some great people who he's, I think, tapping to help him with this, but he comes up with a lot of good material, as you see on Truth Social, as you see, like live in the flesh.
Do you think the president's going to punch on both sides, and who do you see him roasting?
Well,
he is not coming up with good material, dude. I'm sorry, but Trump has lost his motherfucking mind.
I think we'll definitely see him roasting members of the news media in particular. He likes to do that, whether he's at the dinner.
On the news, why are we hearing these people say he's going to roast? Since when do the news people say fucking terminology like that? He's going to roast the news companies.
Or not. He's also probably going to roast Democrats as well. We know that he certainly likes to take jabs at his political opponents. It'll be interesting to see if he makes some self-deprecating jokes or jokes about his administration. We know that, he can be a little, make those jokes from time to time. But I think the big question is also, is this going to be, is he going to take an adversarial approach? Is this going to be extremely pointed, or is it going to be maybe like it has been with past presidents, more lighthearted?
Okay, so I just seen this video, that I want to watch here. Then we'll get into the body cams.
I have spent...
I don't know who this guy is, but it says, a message to Europe, with or without you, we fight. Let's listen to it.
Past several weeks traveling across Europe, speaking to members of parliaments, governments, and the press. My visit had one objective: to give a voice to the millions of Iranians held hostage by the Islamic Republic, its terror, and its internet blackout. The millions of Iranians who have been silenced. But I can now say with confidence that silencing, that censorship, is not just happening at the hands of the regime in Iran, but by the international and particularly the European media. So I want to speak directly to the people of Europe. In the past 2 weeks, I have had 2 press conferences, one in Stockholm and one yesterday in Berlin. Between them, more than 150 journalists attended. We spent more than 2 hours together. And in those 2 hours, not a single of the 150 journalists asked me a question about the 40,000 Iranians slaughtered on the streets of my country on January 8th.
I'm sorry, but 40,000 is just not feasible, bro. 40,000 is a fucking NFL stadium full of people, bro. It's a arena full of people dead. Like, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but 40,000 is an outrageous number, bro. And I'm telling you what, 40,000 bodies is insane. Like, it would cover so much land, bro. Like, nah, bro, I just don't believe that number. I'm sorry. Don't do it. I don't believe it. Allegedly.
9th. Not a single of the 150 journalists asked me about the 19 political prisoners executed in the last 2 weeks. When I told them that there were 20 political prisoners currently sentenced to death, not a single one of the 150 journalists asked me about them. When I stood next to a mother whose son was killed and a father whose son was killed on January 8th and 9th, and asked them to hear their stories, not a single one of the 150 European journalists asked them a question. Here, in the heart of a continent that claims to stand for human rights, justice, and dignity, its journalists have fully abdicated their professional responsibilities and even their moral objectivity. It is clear to me that my 40,000 brave, innocent compatriots who were slaughtered in the fight for liberty are of little interest to these journalists. They seem more interested in criticizing America, asking why the United States and Israel killed the dictator that has slaughtered our people for 47 years, than criticizing the regime doing the slaughter. They seem more interested in asking questions about Iran's past and history than about what is happening in Iran today or about the democratic future Iranians are seeking. One member of parliament even told me they didn't think Iranians were ready for democracy. But to that member of parliament, to those journalists, I remind you, Iranians aren't just ready for democracy. 40,000 people just gave their lives for it. And I won't let that be in vain. So know this, whether or not Europe stands with us, whether or not your journalists do their jobs, whether or not your politicians demonstrate the courage to act, I will fight for my people and my country. Even if we have to do this alone, we will fight until Iran is free.
All right, man. I mean, yeah. That's how it is, dude. It's sad. You know, and I agree with wrong one. I agree with Iran getting, you know, their rights. I don't agree with the way where the regime runs things, but yeah, I just don't believe some of the numbers they put up. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with them having their own rights and being able to vote or doing whatever, you know. Which one do I want to do here? Data is good. No. All right, this is the one right here. Bro, you guys have to watch this. I watched this morning, and it was just like, oh my motherfucking God. So it's called Welfare Check Uncovers 4 Mistreated Kids and Nearly 100 Dead Dogs in a Parent's House of Horrors. Bro, I watched this, and I was like, wow. This is like, this video right here is unfathomable that this could happen. Or, you know, I've seen crazy stuff covering stuff, and like, you know, there's crazy stuff that goes on in the world, but this is wild. Like, what you're about to see in this video is like, what in the fuck, you know? So let's get into it, guys. Now I'm gonna get off. Much love to you guys. Make sure you show love, man. Double tap the screen. Anyone that's new in the stream, say what's up in the chat. Let's get the numbers up. But yeah, man, this is wild. Make sure you guys go support the clips too after I'm done.
Okay, I think almost done. And then there's these guys right here too. Who are you? Sorry. I'm Nick. Nice to meet you.
Officers had just responded to a welfare check at an animal care residence after receiving reports that a deceased dog might be inside. But what they uncovered went far beyond anything they had ever witnessed.
The cages are filled with feces, and there's multiple dogs in cages that are decomposed. That was the worst house I have been in so far, including all the body ones. It's that bad in there.
On August 28, 2023, officers from the Evesham Police Department received a call from the foster coordinator at Tender Mercies Pet Organization, who reported that a dog from one of the foster homes had gone missing, and that the homeowners appeared to be trying to pass off a different animal as the same one. When the officer arrived at the scene, he was met by one of the caretakers, who immediately began raising suspicions.
How are you guys? How are you? Who lives here? I do. You do? Okay. I'm also allowed to go each time police car.
You just wait, Stacy. I'm telling you what, dude, this is gonna like make you guys be like, what in the fuck, dude? This morning I was like baffled when I was watching this.
You know, you are being recorded.
Right.
So, you know why I'm here?
I do not, actually.
Okay. So, a gentleman came. He got those 2 dogs from you earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, those dogs are not taken care of in any way, all right?
Yeah, that's Lynn. She's the center of the rescue.
So, how many other dogs do you have?
Me?
Yeah.
8.
Inside the house?
8.
Are they part of the rescue?
No.
Okay. They're your dogs?
Majority of them are, yes. There's one with another.
She's doing everything but rescuing these dogs. Just watch. You guys are gonna be like, what in the fuck? And then there's kids living in this house. Yeah.
And there's 2 with another one.
Okay. So obviously, due to the fact that the 2 other dogs that I saw weren't cared for, all right? I'm going to ask you if I can see the other dogs you had to make sure they're in good health. All right? If you refuse to do so, you're going to get a search warrant, and I'm going to take those dogs if that search warrant gets approved. I don't want to go that route. I don't think it's necessary, but obviously I have to do my job, make sure that those dogs inside are taken care of, right? Are they taken care of?
Yeah.
The woman seen here was identified as 35-year-old Rebecca Halbach. She appeared uncomfortable with the officer's presence, and that impression only grew stronger with each passing second.
Yeah, and you shook.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, we battled, oh my God, Lynn, what is the name of it?
Parvo. Okay.
We battled Parvo, and there's still a few that are, you know, they still have coccidia, so diarrhea, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's...
Listen, I get it. However, I still need to make sure, obviously, see them, make sure that they're all right, and then we can go from there. So, will you allow me? Will you take me inside so I can see the dogs?
I will happily bring them out to you.
Okay. But I'm not going to have you go back in the house, right? So it's either I come in and see them, or I go the search warrant route. You're not allowed back in your house until we find out whether I get that search warrant approved or not, right? And I don't want to go that way. I don't think it's necessary.
I don't understand, like, granted, like, those dogs that the guy Andrew has, right? They were listed under Lynn's rescue, so how does that...
They're in your care, okay? So the dogs are in your care. You have other dogs in there that are under your care, all right? So the only reason I'm here is to make sure that those dogs are okay. If I deem they're not okay, I'm going to ask if you are willing to turn those dogs over to me, all right? If you refuse to do so, again, I just have to apply for a search warrant, right?
Right.
Rebecca immediately brought up a struggle they had been facing with the dogs. Some had been suffering from parvo, and she seemed concerned about the officer seeing the sick animals, but it was becoming clear that her concerns went deeper than that.
Can I talk to you
What do you mean?
privately? Like,
Yeah, we can walk over here and they can hang out here. Yeah.
well, can we go over here?
Sure.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah,
though,
absolutely.
Before, like... So, you said if you saw the dogs, right?
And they're not in good health. I'd ask if you're willing to turn the dogs over to me. So what would happen is I would contact our animal shelter I work with. I'm the humane officer here, right? So that's why I'm here talking to you.
Okay.
So if they're not in good health, we'll have the shelter come. You'll turn them over. The shelter will take them, and they'll get them back into good health. All right?
Because of the whole, like, I want to be honest with you, but I've never been in trouble. I've never been arrested. I don't want the rescue to go down. I don't want, like, to go to f***ing jail.
So
I'm just saying, with the whole Parvo thing, like...
I don't want the rescue to go down. When you guys see this house, you're going to be like, oh my God, this woman is evil.
What happens, like...
Just hurry the fuck up and
like, that was a whole different situation, like 10 to 15 dogs around the room and all that stuff.
So he's talking about a previous case he worked with where there was like dead dogs in a fridge and freezers and like 15 dead dogs around the room. This is like, just watch.
Is that this type of case, or is it just the one dog, 2 dogs, 3 dogs that are dead? How many do you have in there? You don't know.
Rebecca claimed to be afraid because of a known case involving a woman who had
dogs in the
deceased
house?
dogs inside her home. The officer tried to reassure her, believing the situation at hand wasn't comparable to the one she mentioned, not knowing what was waiting for him inside the residence. Rebecca continued to drop subtle hints about what might have been inside the residence, not realizing that this behavior only made her appear even more suspicious.
Okay, what if...
What's that?
She knows she's screwed, guys. She knows she's screwed.
What if there's more than, like, 3?
More than 3 dogs?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
How does that not matter?
So I'm going to be honest with you, whether it's 1 or 10 or 20 or 30 or 50, it's still the same thing. Doesn't matter the number. Listen, I already, like I said, I've dealt with this before, situations like this. Yeah. I was part of the one you were talking about. I was part of that. I was part of the one in Mount Holly where...
Well, I'm just asking because, like I said, I've never been in trouble. I wouldn't. I honestly never would have put them in harm's way. But I got scared when everything happened and they all started dying. And like, well, what was I gonna do? Right. I have no place to marry them. I have no place. You know, I don't have hundreds of thousands.
Bro, you see this part of your yard right here, or like this part that you're too lazy to mow, or this part you're too. Why do you not go bury them back here, right? Or why not get in touch with the animal crematorium? When my dogs passed away. Boom, cremated him. I got Zoe right over there, dog.
To go and pay a vet to do all this. That's all, like, I'm asking because I'm bluntly scared because I've never been in trouble. If you look into my back, I've never been in trouble.
I don't care if they're flying down from the ceiling. I just want to see them.
Okay, I was gonna say because this morning what I do when I do their cages in the morning and whatnot, but when they showed up, everything got prolonged and me and Lynn we get talking and then it just gets out of hand. So like their cages aren't done. So like it's gonna be a fucking wreck.
It's fine. I got dogs. It is more than okay. We'll just look at them real quick and we'll come right
2
back.
minutes?
Yeah, that's fine.
After speaking outside, the officer
2
and Rebecca
minutes?
went inside the house, and that's when he began to realize the case was far more disturbing than anything he had ever encountered.
Prepare to get
They're all
mad.
friendly, right?
Yeah, just come in.
How are you?
Oh, sorry.
I'm Nick. Nice to meet you.
Oh, I forgot about these guys. So there's 3 here too. So 9, 10, 11, 12.
I forgot
Okay,
about
so like I said, they're only here.
How do you forget about 3 dogs? I hate, like, this is exactly an example of a person who probably loves animals, but she doesn't love animals because of the way they're treated. But this is a prime example of a person who should not have animals at all. Like, why does this person have fucking dogs? Why does she have is there a registered rescue? Like, I hate people that get animals, like a bunch of animals like this, and they're just in a cage the whole time, locked up. You can't take care of them. Like, what the fuck?
That was the one that left. That's the baby shepherd. She's sick. She's been sick.
Okay.
Doesn't look
That
sick.
Philip
She
is
looks
here.
like she's starving. Got a hidden dog right there.
He's really friendly.
And what about the deceased
There's one there.
Look at how big that dog is for how small that cage is, dude. That dog's gotta be just cramped in there hurting, dude. This girl needs firing squad.
That's the other shepherd. That's Amelia. And then this is Nico. They're all friendly. They just make bark.
Are these all the deceased ones, Ken?
These 2 are.
Okay. How many do we got?
2, 1 in each.
Okay. And
So this is my cat.
are those the only deceased ones? No, I'm just asking. It's just these 2.
Well, no, we have to go this way. The 2 Maltese.
No, we have to go. Oh my, dude. Oh my god. And there's kids here, you guys. It's just, there's kids here. You're about to see this, and it's like, oh my. I watched this morning, I got mad, now I'm getting even more pissed.
In here.
Okay.
And then there's a Yorkie right there.
Oh my god.
Inside the house, the officer was met with one of the most disturbing scenes he had ever encountered. The animals were confined to cages filled with feces, filthy and neglected, while deceased dogs, some already in advanced stages of decomposition, were scattered throughout the residence. But what immediately stood out to him upon entering was the presence of 4 children, ages 9, 10, 11, and 12, who had been living in those same deplorable conditions.
I know, look how big of the yard they had. They could have fenced that thing in and had them outside. Like, what?
Was so extreme that even the officer, who had already witnessed a similar case before, was deeply unsettled.
Let me just make the call so animal control knows exactly what we're dealing with, and then just hang out with her. It's really bad. We're gonna call BCB here last time. That's her only thing.
He says it's really fucking bad.
There's no, but I don't want to approach it. There are multiple decaying dogs. Yeah, because we just want to doing that. So, yeah, it is.
How many alive?
I couldn't even focus. The smell was too bad, and there's bugs everywhere.
Give me, I have a match. I'll throw a match when you go back.
No, it doesn't. We got it.
9 days gone.
The house has got to be shut down.
He said the smell in there was so bad he couldn't focus. And think they're raising 4 kids in this house. And we just wait till you see what they find on this next part.
Yeah, when I tell you these dogs have had to been in there for months, they can't get in the cages. It is that bad. There's bugs and all sorts coming out of them, on the floors and the ceiling. There's everywhere.
If we run in, I'll find the Board of Health.
There's a way for us to transport them, right? And then if we do, they're all different types. There's like a German Shepherd, there's a German Shepherd, there's like pit bull mixes, and they're all different small Yorkies.
Kennels?
They're all in cages, but the cages are filled with fleas and flies and maggots, and there's multiple dogs in cages that are decomposed, and there's maggots on the floor. That was the worst house I have been in so far, including all the body ones. It's that bad in there.
Shortly after, Rebecca's husband arrived at the scene, also visibly uncomfortable with the officer's presence at the residence.
How are you, sir? Good. I'm also allowed to go in from Evesham. Just so you know, I got a body on camera that's recording. I got to say it legally. So just to fill you in on the situation here, obviously, I got alerted to the situation in here. I'm a humane officer for our township. So your wife, Rebecca, so I came here, I spoke with Rebecca. She's going to turn over the dogs to us today. We're waiting on the animal control officer with the van to get here. So the dogs, the cats, all the animals are going to go, the live ones and the dead ones, with the animal control officer. However, the situation we're running into here is, obviously, you guys can't be living in a house in the current condition. So obviously, animal control is coming for all the animals inside alive, right? She's working with us, so there's two different ways this could have went. It's either you guys work with me, I get the consent, and it's nice and smooth, and we deal with it, or no one's allowed in the house, I get a search warrant and go that way. Obviously, no one wants to go that way. It's not necessary. And to grab the clothes and all that stuff, let's just wait until animal control takes the dogs, all right? And then we can go inside and you guys can grab whatever you need to grab. Okay, all right?
At this point,
you're not about to expect this right here, Stacy. I'm telling you, and this is the #1 most effed up video when it comes to animals I've watched ever. Anything in my life, this is the most effed up one.
needed to document the horrors inside the house, and in doing so, they continued to make even more unsettling discoveries.
Stop.
Are there any dead animals in the fridge?
Huh?
Are there any dead animals in the fridge?
Oh, no, you can open that.
No.
By all means. No freezer, no.
Okay.
Yeah, open it. There's nothing in there.
This is the dirtiest freaking house I have ever seen. How could you even be here? Like, I can't. Oh my god, dude, this is just unfathomable.
Are there? What's in here?
That was a rat trap.
What about, is that a dog
Yeah,
too?
that's the multi-cycle out.
Dylan, did you get these guys over here?
Oh my god.
And then these guys here. I think that one's almost.
I was gonna say it was me when you were in there. There was 3 of them.
Yeah, I think he's almost gone. And then there's these guys right here too.
The number of deceased dogs inside was so overwhelming that the further the officers moved in, the more they found. As they continued documenting the scene, it seemed like the number of animals would never end.
Oh, these are all dead.
That was litter box. This is a king. He passed. That is.
Dylan.
That one's deceased. That's this one. There's one that was deceased in that one. That one was from Parvo, and then this one, yes. Then him, I wasn't able to get out of the cage, and that too, yes.
Okay. And then these ones behind you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got these, Dylan.
And then that one.
Yep.
So mind you guys, these bins and these trash bags and everything are full of fucking dead dogs.
Are there any animals in the trash bag?
No, it's all trash.
See,
You can pick them. There is.
There's one in there.
My God. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, is it easier to bring her down? Okay, I wasn't sure. Just okay.
Let's not worry about that.
Or these all have dead animals in them?
Truthfully, yeah, a lot of these are the puppies that from the beginning stages of Parvo.
Okay, these are all.
Yeah.
And then here too.
No, that's trash.
Okay.
That's basic trash. That's clothes. You can look at it. That's their clothes.
After documenting the house, both officers stepped outside, shaken by what they had just witnessed.
I gotta call Sarge. Hey, so me and Dylan just went and took the photos and stuff. It's worse than we thought. There's probably close to 30 dead dogs in there. How many live dogs would you say? 2 in the first kitchen, 2 in the cage, 4, 2 more in the next room, 6, 1 upstairs, 7. Minimum 7. What's that? At least 7 that I can think. Yeah. I think probably more than that. That's probably 10. 10's Yeah. So there's about 10. We want to say 10 live dogs. And when I tell you, it's probably what 30 dogs.
That is just. I mean, how could you be there knowing those dogs are there like that and everything else like that? That is just the most insane fucking thing, dude. I am just baffled.
Maybe even more because We didn't open anything, but there were some in trash bags, in containers, and bins, and
Is he crying? It looks like this cop's crying because of it.
Yeah, there are several fully decomposed dogs, some half composed, some probably died recently. I mean, it ranges.
What the officers found inside the house was far more disturbing than the initial call had suggested, and there was no way they could consider Rebecca innocent, something she was about to realize.
All right, Rebecca, you're not gonna like this. I'm gonna be straightforward with you. After M&R pulled the dogs out, prosecutor told us to place you on arrest. All right.
How does that work?
What's that?
So how does that work?
So, and again, I'm being super cool.
I know.
How does that work?
Appreciate that.
Right,
I was
right
from
now.
day one, or from the time you came
That's
here.
why we're doing it this way. Usually, I would already have you in custody. We would talk about it after, right? I ain't gonna place you on arrest.
I'm not going to go anywhere.
I don't believe you. That's why we're having this conversation, right? Because I feel bad because I didn't think this was gonna be the outcome. However, it is. We got to deal with it. So what happens is you get brought back to the station. They interview you.
Here?
Yeah, right here. They interview you. They process you, and then the judge determines whether you'll be released or not be released. I believe what their ultimate goal is to have you get released, but have you have it so when you get released, you're not allowed to own animals. But again, I don't know.
Right, and I said, and given the circumstances and everything everybody else put me through,
I had your husband take your son inside so he doesn't see this. All right, so let's do this. Let's walk over to my car.
Can I finish my cigarette? I'm not going to go anywhere.
Finish it while we walk over to the car.
Oh,
Rebecca was fully aware of the fate that awaited her, and that, despite her desperate attempts to appear innocent, nothing could get her out of the situation.
I won't stand right here for right now. All right, so just face the car.
Yeah.
Yo, she deserves it, bro. And if they just let her out right away, bro, that is a complete lack of justice. Like, she needs to go to prison for a while.
Then actually grab your phone for me now, so I don't have to.
Can I power it off?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever you want to do. And it'll come with us.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna cry like a baby, so I can have paper towels or something to wipe my face after.
Yeah,
okay.
once we get back. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as scary as you think.
Well,
it
no,
is.
I've never been in trouble. I just
It's not.
Okay.
It's not as scary as you think it is.
My best friend, who just our cousin right next to it.
Okay. Because they do want me to place you under arrest as well for charges. Yeah.
For what?
For animal cruelty towards the animals. Now again, just because you're getting charged with it doesn't mean you're guilty. But at this moment, you are going to be placed under arrest, taken back to the station, interview, processed.
Yeah, what the fuck? Sorry, guys.
And then from there, either released or not released. All right, but you can smoke your cigarette, finish that, and then.
How does it? That's what I don't understand. How does this? What is my tie to this? I wasn't with the rescue. I know.
Well, it's the fact you're living in a house with 30 dogs.
I understand.
So that's why, and again, right? I'm not trying to be sarcastic or anything.
How could you live in that house, dude? Like, imagine the smell, the flies, the maggots. Like, what? Some people are just like, oh my lord.
You're correct. You're not with it, but that's something that you have to express in court. Okay, so.
139's coming. Yep.
Walk you over to the car over this way. We're gonna wait. Someone else is gonna transport you. I'm just gonna pull you out of the eyesight of your buddy there, and then we'll go from there. Anything on you that's gonna put me, stick me, anything like that?
No, I have a lollipop in my back.
Rebecca and Brandon were initially charged with injuring the welfare of a minor and animal cruelty. As the investigation continued, authorities uncovered more deceased animals buried on the property, raising the number of dogs from 30 to nearly 100. It was also discovered that the couple had been affiliated with a local pet rescue. They used that connection to create an unauthorized online presence through which they defrauded people out of money, raising around $7,000 supposedly to care for the animals. However, the funds were never used for the dogs, leading authorities to suspect the couple had been keeping the money for themselves. In the end, Rebecca was sentenced to 3 years in prison, while Brandon received a 90-day sentence.
Yeah, I don't think 3 years is enough.
Okay, are you gonna walk to the car?
Let me go.
Dad,
Let me
go
go.
to the car.
Let me go.
Okay, I don't think that 3 years is enough, but 3 years is, at least some time. The other guy, still the same. He should have got 3 years too. Like, I knew that was for the money. I knew that. But the fact that they weren't even they raised all that money from people and then they used it on themselves, and those dogs are sitting in kennels, like, bro, like, what? With $7 grand, you could have built like a little fence. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just crazy. It went from they thought it was like 30 to nearly 100. Imagine having 100. That's like Pet Cemetery type shit, bro. It's scary, dog. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's just like those kind of people. Like, those people got something wrong in their head, bro. Like, straight up. And think about, they're going on living their daily lives, talking to people, and they secretly have 100 dead animals in their damn house. I mean, holy crap, dude. I mean, that's just mind-blowing, bro. That's the last video we're gonna, oh shit, sorry, that's the last video we're gonna react to today, man. I appreciate y'all for being here. It's a Saturday. I usually don't go live, but I'm thinking on the Saturdays that I bring my kids to see their mother, I'm gonna go live. Got to keep the grind going, man. Support the channel, support your boy, go support the clips that I release, go support the videos. I appreciate y'all for being here, man. On the road to 20K. Thank you again to Natalie for the $50 dono through the Ko-Fi. Anyone that wants to support me, go to the link in my bio in the Ko-Fi and support me there. YouTube does take a brutal 30%, so go to my Ko-Fi, show some love and support the channel, support your boy. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Two Worlds, Natalie, everyone else that was here. I appreciate you guys. God bless.